Marvel, it starts when it links with a great clock of the Super God Academy. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 251, Black Armor Company's Strengthening Plan begins. What do you think of this battle? Without the group of soldiers from the heroic army, Li Qingyun and Sun Wukong were standing on the edge of the aircraft carrier's deck, looking at the sea ahead in the setting sun. The heroic army's combat power is not bad, but they lack experience, and the number gap is too big. Sun Wukong personally participated in this battle, and he knew very well the situation when he faced the demon army. Yet, Li Qingyun responded. Although the demon army only has a few thousand people, they are all super soldiers, and there are hundreds of them who are above the second or third generation. Although our entire South China Sea fleet has tens of thousands of soldiers, there are only a dozen real super soldiers. Any demon in the demon army has the ability to threaten the super soldiers of our Xiangbinglian, and even if our soldiers join hands, it is difficult to threaten a demon. In this battle, they reserved most of their superior forces to fight against the angel army, and only a small part of them was used to fight us, but we still seem to be stretched to the limit. This is our current situation. Li Qingyun was a bystander in this war, so he saw it more clearly than anyone else. Angels, demons, and Xiandao, they are all civilizations that have developed for tens of thousands or even tens of thousands of years. The Earth is just starting now. These super soldiers are still created by the super genes left by the Denner civilization and Shen civilization. It is impossible for us to create a large number of soldiers who can fight against them in a short period of time. Sun Wukong also knew the situation, but there was no way to change it. I have got the Void Controller now. After loading it, I can create a new weapon that can enhance the soldiers' attack power. The Black Great Wall has also prepared potions that can enhance the soldiers' physical fitness. If there are some dark alloy armors to arm them, it will increase their defense. Even if we can't directly fight the demons one-on-one, at least we can greatly improve the combat effectiveness of our soldiers, so that they can play a more powerful role on the battlefield. In the original book, Xiangbinglian was able to create a black armor company. Li Qingyun's knowledge in this area is more comprehensive than Xiangbinglian's, and he has been prepared for it, so he can naturally realize it in advance. It seems that you already have an idea in your mind. Sun Wukong turned around and looked at Li Qingyun. Not only an idea, I already have a complete set of planning schemes here. Li Qingyun pointed to his head. Everything, the set he used in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is all in his mind. But now, there are still some problems that have not been solved, right? Sun Wukong asked. At this time, Li Qingyun specifically found me and talked to me like this. It was clear that he had something for me to do. To build the armor of super soldiers, a large amount of dark iron elements is needed, but the dark iron content of our Earth is not high. The amount currently used is all that can be mined. We need to obtain more resources from the universe, Li Qingyun said. So, you want me to be responsible for collecting? Sun Wukong finally realized the purpose of Li Qingyun looking for him. There is a large amount of dark iron element deposits in the Proxima galaxy next to our Earth, and there is currently only one civilization from the ancient times. I want you to go there and collect dark iron elements while leaving them some legends of gods. Li Qingyun would not say anything like establishing diplomatic relations with Proxima. A primitive civilization and a civilization like them that is about to enter the era of God-making are talking about so-called diplomatic relations. Isn't this a joke? Moreover, if there is no accident, the subsequent Earth will directly occupy the entire Milky Way and achieve the Milky Way civilization. Proxima and other planets and civilizations with life in the Milky Way should become their subsidiaries like the Yaran civilization and the Angel Nebula. Are there any necessary conditions? Do I need to go there? Sun Wukong is the patron saint of the Earth. He has been protecting this planet for thousands of years. He has to think carefully about asking him to go to another planet at such a critical time for the Earth. The Demon Legion and the Tod Legion are now circling outside the Earth. If we send people out, they will definitely target us. To be on the safe side, they will send people to cause trouble. Therefore, the people we send over had better have strong combat power and can stand on their own. Now in the entire Xiangbin company, there are only you and me who can do this alone. If you don't go, I'm afraid I will have to go, Li Qingyun explained, and Sun Wukong, who heard what he said, immediately understood. You are the deputy commander of the Xiangbinglian and the Black Great Wall Project. Now Lao Du was sniped. Although he survived because of Yukin's emergency protection, he was shot on the brain and his central nervous system was damaged. It is unknown how long it will take for him to recover, and the knowledge and ability you have can further promote the development of the Earth. At this time, you must not leave, so, this mission to Proxima Centauri can only be carried out by me. Sun Wukong knew the importance of Li Qingyun to the Earth. At this time, anyone can leave the Earth, except Li Qingyun. Ha ha ha, monkey brother is monkey brother, righteousness. Li Qingyun patted Sun Wukong on the shoulder and said with a smile. Don't come on, you called me Wukong when you commanded me to fight, but now you know to call me monkey brother, Sun Wukong complained, but there was a smile on his face. The two men are thousands of years apart in age, but now they seem like close friends. In the distance, Zhao Zhen, Cheng Yaowen and Zhai, who were in training, looked at Li Qingyun and Sun Wukong who were talking happily at this time, and they were all surprised. That's Monkey King, the fighting Buddha. The deputy commander can actually chat and laugh with him and call him a brother. Isn't that amazing? Liu Qiang came out from the side. He admired Sun Wukong the most. He was able to become Great Wall #1 because of Sun Wukong's training. Although the deputy commander looks as young as us, his identity is not simple, and his strength is even more unfathomable. It's not surprising that he and Monkey King can get along like this, Zhai said. Well, it's not surprising, Cheng Yaowen nodded. But didn't you go to assist Angel Fangxing? Why did you come back suddenly? Cheng Yaowen looked at Liu Qiang and questioned his sudden intrusion. I almost forgot about the business, Liu Qiang reacted and immediately walked forward to where Li Qingyun and Sun Wukong were. Chapter 252 Angel Yan wakes up. Liu Qiang came behind Li Qingyun and Sun Wukong and shouted, "Report." Seeing Li Qingyun and Sun Wukong turned around, Liu Qiang reported, "Deputy Commander, Monkey Brother, we have found the angels scattered on the Earth. Many of them have been killed or injured, and many have been seriously injured. Angel Fangxing hopes to use Yukin's ability to provide them with remote treatment assistance." Approved, Li Qingyun said, and at the same time directly sent orders to Lianfeng and Yukin. Locate the location of Angel Fangxing and provide energy and treatment support for all injured angels. Li Qingyun had just finished speaking when Lianfeng and Yukin began to execute the operation. Angel Zhu and others on a secret island on the Pacific Ocean immediately received remote treatment from Yukin. As a super soldier, what they need most is energy support. With sufficient and corresponding energy support, they can quickly recover themselves. As a medical officer, Yukin's role is to make the energy she supports accepted by any super soldier, instead of requiring each other's energy to complement each other to achieve the effect of assisting treatment like Zhaixin and Zhaozin. Commander-in-Chief, Angel Yan is awake, Yukin's voice came suddenly. Almost at the same time, everyone saw a figure flying out of the cabin. That was Angel Yan. Go and comfort this little girl. Judging from the situation she was facing at that time, I'm afraid she was hit hard. Sun Wukong was fighting side by side with Angel Yan at that time. At such a critical moment, as the sacred left wing guard of the Angel Legion, she was so close but could not go to Keisha to assist in the battle. I understand, Li Qingyun nodded. You go to the Black Great Wall first, and take a spaceship to Proxima Centauri from there, Li Qingyun said, and saw Sun Wukong nodded. When he was about to leave, Li Qingyun seemed to suddenly remember something and spoke quickly. By the way, you can take Su Xiaoli with you. One more person means more care. This, Sun Wukong was a little confused. But it seemed too late for him to say anything at this time. Li Qingyun had already flown to where Angel Yan was, and he didn't intend to give Sun Wukong a chance to object. He could only turn around helplessly, and then looked at the middle of the aircraft carrier, looking at Su Xiaoli who was coming out of the cabin with Qilin. He wanted to turn around and leave directly, but he just moved his feet and stopped unconsciously. He remembered what Li Qingyun had said to him before on the Flower and Fruit Mountain. Su Xiaoli, board the Light of Dawn immediately, we have a mission to carry out. Sun Wukong directly conveyed this message in the communication channel, and then walked towards the Light of Dawn. He obviously has the ability to fly, but at this time he chose to board the Light of Dawn, just to wait for Su Xiaoli to come with him. Su Xiaoli was also very excited when she heard the news. She had a special feeling for Sun Wukong. Although they had been on the giant gorge, they had basically no intersection. Now they could go out to perform tasks together. This was equivalent to giving them a chance to be alone. Li Qingyun in midair looked at this scene and just smiled. But soon he put away this thought and came to the side of Angel Yan. What happened? Angel Yan had been trying to connect to the communication channel of the Sacred Knowledge Treasure House, but now she couldn't do it at all. Kesha has fallen, and the angels who came with you suffered heavy casualties. Now there are less than 10 who can survive. Our people have found them all, Li Qingyun said. He couldn't tell Angel Yan that Kesha had turned into the universe. Kesha turned into the universe, and the principle of the space escaped into the void dimension. These were things that only Li Qingyun knew, because these were beyond the scope of the conventional universe. Unless Li Qingyun intended to tell outsiders the truth that he came from another world, he couldn't reveal it. Even if the space principle will be consulted by the Sunlight Rainer later, I don't think he will say these. We have made full preparations before coming here. How could Queen Kesha fall so easily? Angel Yan was not happy to accept this fact, because no matter how Angel Yan thought, no one in the universe should be able to kill Holy Kesha. You have to ask the Death God Karl for the details of the specific fall. You know my state at that time, Li Qingyun said. I will. Angel Yan clenched her fists. She had firmly remembered the hatred between her, the Death God Karl, and the Demon King Morgana. She would go to these two people no matter what. Where are the other living angels now? Angel Yan remembered that her current identity is the new Angel King. As the Angel King, she needs to understand the situation of other angels, and she is obliged to go back to reorganize the Angel Legion, and then come back to avenge the Demon Legion. Rui Mengmeng is with him, and is on her way to the giant gorge on the light of dawn, Li Qingyun said, and almost at the moment when he finished speaking, the light of dawn appeared in front of them. On the periphery of the light of dawn, there were 3 flying angels, and Li Qingyun knew all 3 of them. They were the angels Leng, Lingxi, and Yishan who had helped guard the North Star for several months in the original book. Among the surviving angel warriors, the 3 of them had the lightest injuries. The rest, even Angel Fangxing and Angel Yunan who had insisted on looking for other angels, were actually injured in the battle. It was just that their concern for other sisters was more important than their own injuries, so they insisted on going to look for them. Leng, Yan, the 2 saw each other at the first time. The light of dawn stopped on the deck of the giant gorge, and Angel Yan immediately walked to the cabin door and looked at the surviving angels inside. Angels who was also in the crowd at this time, and there was a blood stain on her abdomen, which was obviously pierced through the abdomen. It was only because she had an invincible body that her injuries had basically recovered. Where were you when the demon army came? Angel Leng's voice came. There was resentment and confusion in her tone. Why at such a critical moment, as the left wing guard of Holy Kesha, the strongest person in the angel army besides Kesha, she was on Earth but didn't go to support. Angel Leng must figure out the reason, otherwise she can't accept the fact that Angel Yan has inherited Kesha's position as the King of Angels. Chapter 253 The New Angel King. I was here at that time. Angel Yan recalled the situation on that day, and she was also very upset. It was obvious that she only needed more than 10 minutes to fly over, but she didn't go back. Since you are here, why don't you go back to support? The angel asked coldly, and this was the common question in the hearts of almost every angel present. It was clearly here, and it was only a short distance away. Why didn't you go back to support after the war started? I also want to go back, but this was Kesha's order, because Snow's appearance blocked her movements, and even her super gene system was forcibly shut down. These are all reasons, but Angel Yan couldn't say them at this moment. Because no matter what, it was not a reason for her not to go back to assist in the battle. Looking at Angel Yan with her head down, the angels actually understood that Yan must have a reason for this trip, but the anger in everyone's heart was difficult to eliminate. This is what Queen Kesha asked me to give you before the war. Angel Chase stepped forward and presented a golden crystal to Angel Yan. This crystal is the same as the one that Angel Yan placed on the throne of Skyblade number 7 in the original book. It is a crystal used to transmit information, and it can only be opened by designated people under specific circumstances. The moment Angel Yan took the crystal, a golden sacred code immediately flew out of the crystal, and then directly merged into Angel Yan's forehead. At this moment, all the angels of the Angel Legion reconnected to the communication channel of the Holy Knowledge Treasure House, and everyone in the dark matter plane felt the reinflux of powerful energy. The ability of each angel warrior was restored to its former peak moment at the first time. A metal cast platform, a technology tree that continues to extend like a branch. This is the Holy Knowledge Treasure House, the celestial computer used by the Angel King, Holy Kesha. At this moment, the image of Holy Kesha appeared next to the Holy Knowledge Treasure House, and her voice followed. It is confirmed that Angel Yan will act as the new angel commander to protect our world for me. All angels and civilizations under his rule please actively support and cooperate to help Angel Yan become the new angel king. Please understand that my state is no longer sharp. If one day I am disintegrated by the enemy, then our justice will need a new fighting god to regain what we have lost. Also please give her enough tests. Hizai, do you agree? This was the last question to Angel Hizai. This video was obviously recorded before Holy Kesha came to Earth, and Holy Kesha had prepared it long ago. Hizai's answer was, I agree. This is basically the same as the scene in the original book. However, at this moment, there is a special message in the crystal in Angel Yan's hand, which is only for Angel Yan. Yan, I know you have developed some special feelings for Li Qingyun. I have also observed this god of chaos and found that he has far more powerful abilities than we know, but he is not a god created by us angels. We have no understanding of his personality, ideas, and thoughts, let alone grasping them. Therefore, even if I betroth you to him, you must first confirm that he is on the side of justice before you can be with him, and the method of confirmation and the final result are up to you to judge. This is a warning that Kesha gave to Angel Yan, so that she can be with Li Qingyun, but also warned her not to be completely blinded by love. Previously, Holy Kesha betrothed Angel Yan to Jezailan because the Galaxy Power, a supergenetic project, was originally developed by angels. At the beginning, Kesha asked Angel Huxi to go to the Super Seminary in person and provide the original angel genes to the Super Seminary, and also set strict conditions for the activation of the Galaxy Power genes. Therefore, Holy Kesha is very clear about what kind of god the Galaxy Power will eventually become. But Li Qingyun is different. He comes from another dimension, and his genes, thoughts, ideas, etc. are all unknown to Holy Kesha. I will observe carefully and make a final judgment, Angel Yan replied, and then hid this piece of information directly. In the entire angel army, only she herself would know that Queen Kesha had left her this message. Returning to the real world from the dark matter plane, all the angel warriors, including Angel Leng, Angel Zhu, Angel Moi, etc., stood in front of Angel Yan. Without the slightest hesitation, they knelt on one knee, stroked their chests with their right hands, and said in unison, "Meet the new angel queen, Yan." Yes, they are all Holy Kesha's most loyal guards and the most devout believers of justice and order, so they are willing to unconditionally obey all the orders given to them by Holy Kesha. Since Queen Kesha has long intended to make Angel Yan her successor, now that Queen Kesha has gone offline, Angel Yan is naturally the new angel king. I am just acting as the angel. After 1,000 years, when Inezid grows up, I will pass the throne to her, Angel Yan explained her position. The angel crown prince of Mellow Heaven is Inezid. This was calculated in Mellow Heaven through the sacred knowledge treasury more than 10 years ago and recognized by Queen Kesha and all the angels. Even so, it is a fact that you are now the king of angels. Angel Leng stood up. The relationship between her and Angel Yan is relatively complicated in the entire angel army. When Angel Yan just joined the army, Angel Leng was her captain and her guide. But later, Angel Yan's growth rate was faster than Angel Leng, so that she directly became Kesha's student and replaced Angel Leng's teacher, ruining to become the new sacred left wing guard. Now, Angel Yan has become the new angel commander and the new king of angels. Sister Leng is right. Before Inezid grows up, you are the new angel king. You have to lead us, protect Queen Kesha's justice order, and avenge Queen Kesha. Angel Zhu raised her head. She was undoubtedly the most loyal to Angel Yan in the entire angel corps. I understand. I will fulfill my duties and protect the justice order. Angel Yan is not the kind of person who is shy. At this time, it is her responsibility, and she has to complete it. Zhi is already on the way back. After she comes back, we will discuss the follow-up action plan together. In addition, I need to choose new sacred wings. When Angel Yan said this, he looked at Angel Leng again. In the angel corps, if you choose purely by combat power, Angel Zhi and Angel Leng are the strongest. But Zhi was originally at the same level as her, and the relationship between Angel Leng and her is also very special. Choosing these two people is obviously problematic. So, she can only choose to wait for Zhi to come back first. Chapter 254 The Demon Queen's New Target. The Holy Right Wing Guard, Angel Zhixin, and Du Qiangwei went to Fraser together to stop the sword demon Atuo from slaughtering innocent civilians in Fraser. Morgana had originally planned to launch an ambush against Angel Xiaxin in this war between angels and demons. However, the result was a failure. But the problem is that Morgana, as the king of demons, was not angry about this, and even seemed a little excited. Queen, you look a little bit wrong, right? Atuo was in demon number 1 at this time. After the failure of this battle, he fled in disgrace and fled back to the spacecraft of demon number 1. Atuo, who was very annoyed and blamed himself for his failure, looked at Morgana, who was secretly proud of herself at this time, and the whole person was confused. I failed to complete the task you gave me, and Angel Xiaxin is still alive and well, and is on the way back to Earth. Why are you not angry at all? It's not your fault for this matter. Why should I be angry, huh? Atuo was completely confused. He couldn't figure out where Morgana got this from. Spacetime Rose, she can actually apply the wormhole transport technology to such a proficient level, and the weapon in her hand should be made by Dark Silver. Dark Silver can actually exert such a powerful power with this spacetime gene. If this weapon is replaced with Xingming, its divine body level will be upgraded to the 4th generation divine body, and its power will be even more terrifying. It's really worthy of the spacetime gene I studied. It's really powerful. Morgana sighed 3 times in a row, but the sword demon Atuo was stunned. Even the demons such as Atuo next to him were also very surprised at this time. Queen, did you design the super gene in Rose's body? Atuo hesitated for a long time before asking. Well, when I was the king of Apocalypse, I spent thousands of years researching the space-time gene, but because it takes a lot of resources to create a true space-time god, and that short-sighted guy Kesha actually wants to divide the resources equally among all the angels, but now look at the space-time Rose, who is only 20 years old, and her strength is almost catching up with the holy wings beside her. If she is given more time to grow, she will definitely be an extremely powerful existence in the future. Seeing the performance of the space-time Rose now, Morgana is more certain that her previous judgment is correct. Even if it takes the resources of the entire Mellow Heaven, once a true space-time god can be cultivated, it will be a huge success. Moreover, an angel who can control space and time will definitely make Mellow Heaven stronger and take Mellow Heaven's status to a higher level. But now, Morgana can only hand over the research of this super gene to the Super God Academy and let the Earth inherit it. The Earth now has the power of the galaxy, the god of war of no star, and the rose of time and space. With the guidance of Li Qingyun, the god of chaos, it will not take long for an extremely powerful civilization to develop. So it's your research, Queen. I was wondering how Qiangwei could become so powerful all of a sudden. At this time, Atuo suddenly felt a little wronged. He thought he should be punished for not fulfilling the Queen's order. Unexpectedly, what hindered his actions was the super warrior developed by the Queen herself. The demons knew what kind of person their demon king was. Their queen spent thousands of years developing a super warrior, which must be very powerful, and the opponent also had the dark silver weapon, which was the most powerful weapon among all the god-killing weapons in the known universe. However, Queen, the space-time gene you studied is now controlled by an earthling, and she came to oppose you specifically. Isn't this a bit too? Atuo didn't continue, but the meaning of his words was already very clear. The super gene he had researched was used by others against him, and it directly became the key to destroying their demon army's plan. As for the battle plan against Angel Xiaxin this time, Angel Xiaxin was in a weak stage at that time. With the strength of Sword Demon Atuo, it should not be difficult to kill her. But because of the addition of Du Qiangwei, the situation was reversed. Even though Sword Demon Atuo had the support of Demon Number 1 behind him, Du Qiangwei had the dark silver weapon in her hand. Moreover, the Holy Wings itself is the highest combat power in the Angel Army except for Holy Kisha. Even without the computing support of the Holy Knowledge Treasury, its own combat power is also very strong. Atuo fought 1 against 2, and naturally failed to achieve any results in the end. After that, Li Qingyun quickly recovered from the static state, and their demon army's offensive could only be temporarily stopped. You are right, we have to snatch her back from the hands of the Earthlings. Morgana will not give the time and space rose to anyone, it must be hers. Atai, you guys plan how to bring her back to our demon army. Morgana wanted to get what she wanted no matter what. She wanted to defeat Holy Kisha, but now Holy Kisha has fallen. What she has to do next is to take back her past research and bring the time and space rose back to her. She is now on her way back to Earth with Angel Xiaxin. Once they return to Earth, she will be with a group of people in the Hero Company. It will be basically impossible for us to snatch her away, Atai reported. The combat effectiveness of the Xiaongbing company is not weak now. With the addition of the people from the Angel Legion with them, the combat effectiveness will only be stronger. The most important is the Chaos God Li Qingyun. He has the 4th generation divine body and the ability of the void. It is no less difficult for us to deal with him than to deal with the Holy Kisha, so it is best for us to attack them directly when they enter the solar system. In space, Du Qiangwei's combat effectiveness will be weakened. In the solar system, we have an absolute advantage in manpower. It will be easy to take down 2 super warriors with 3rd generation divine bodies. Atai quickly formulated a complete combat plan. Well, this plan is feasible, Morgana nodded. Can we still track the whereabouts of Angel Xiaxin and Du Qiangwei now? Morgana asked. Sword Demon Achuo came back first, while Du Qiangwei and Angel Xiaxin rushed back in a small spaceship, and their speed was much slower than Achuo. The other party has been tracked by Demon Number 1. We can accurately calculate the time and place when they entered the solar system, Atai replied. Well, everyone, get ready. We must capture Du Qiangwei for me this time, Morgana said as if she was determined to win. Chapter 255 Interception outside the solar system. In the command room of the Giant Gorge, Lian Feng has returned here. At this moment, she has received a message from Du Qiangwei. In a few minutes, we will enter the range of the solar system. Du Qiangwei was reporting the itinerary. This time she went to Fraser. She was considered to have fulfilled her mission, but she was still worried when she learned that her father was sniped and was now unconscious. My father, the God Killer Number 1 shot through the temple and destroyed the central nervous system and super gene structure. Lian Feng knew what Du Qiangwei was worried about. Yukin took emergency action at that time. Although she saved his life, in order to recover, we need to reorganize the structure of the super gene, and General Du Kao's super gene data disappeared as early as the destruction of the Denner civilization. We need to rematch and pair, it's just that this process takes a lot of time, Lian Feng explained. Du Qiangwei heard what Lian Feng said at this moment. Although she was still worried, she was at least a little relieved. Her father was not really dead, and it was not impossible to recover. It just took some time. There is an abnormal movement of energy around. Suddenly, the Angel Xiaxin, who was in the same spaceship with Du Qiangwei, issued a warning. Afterwards, the communication between Du Qiangwei and Lian Feng was cut off, and no matter how many times Lian Feng called and tried to establish contact, it didn't work. At this moment, Lian Feng had already realized that there was a problem with Du Qiangwei. Commander-in-Chief, something happened to Qiangwei. Lian Feng contacted Li Qingyun directly. After Du Kao fell into coma, Li Qingyun directly changed from the original Deputy Commander-in-Chief to the Commander-in-Chief. He was already the highest commander of the entire South China Sea Fleet, and even the original concerns of the Supreme Command about him were eliminated at this time. What's the situation? Li Qingyun was adjusting his state at this time. He had just taken the pill of the Void Controller not long ago, and he was digesting and absorbing the pill at this time. But suddenly at this time, he received the forbidden contact from Lian Feng. Just now I was communicating with Qiangwei, but while we were talking, I suddenly heard the Angel Xiaxin say that there was an abnormal energy fluctuation around, and then the communication was interrupted. Lian Feng described the actual situation. Where are Qiangwei and the others right now? Li Qingyun asked. Not far from the solar system, Lian Feng replied. Give me the exact coordinates, Li Qingyun said, and at the same time, he directly contacted Angel Yan. At this time, Angel Yan was leading all the angels who stayed on Earth, living on the Giant Gorge, in an area that Li Qingyun reserved for them. Qiangwei and Xiaxin should have been attacked in space. I suspect that it was Morgana's demon army who attacked. Li Qingyun directly explained the situation. Now, only Jezailan and I in the Xiaongbing company can enter space to fight. I just loaded the Void Controller, and it will take some time to stabilize, so I plan to let Jezailan go to understand the situation. Who on your side has fully recovered from their injuries now? I hope they can go with Jezailan. Jezailan is the power of the galaxy. Under Li Qingyun's targeted training, his strength has been greatly improved. But after all, he still hasn't obtained the Void Controller. And his strength is still a little insufficient. So, at this time, it's better to have someone to cooperate with him. I understand. I'll send someone to join them right away, Angel Yan answered, and her eyes were now looking at Angel Ling and Angel Zhu. Angel Leng was not injured in the battle. Although Angel Zhu was pierced through the abdomen by Morgana with dark silver, she was invincible and her recovery ability was far superior to that of ordinary people. In the past 2 days, she had already recovered. Moreover, the combat power of the two of them was extremely strong in the Angel Corps, second only to her and Zhin. It was obviously the most suitable for them to go. We'll go now. Angel Yan didn't need to explain. Angel Leng and Angel Zhu also understood the current situation. Be careful. If you find any trouble that may not be solved, send me a message immediately. Angel Yan reminded that the current Angel Corps can no longer suffer major losses, especially in terms of high-end combat power. Understood, Angel Zhu answered, and then left directly with Angel Leng. They were in the air above the giant gorge, and Jezailan also flew out at this time. After the three people met, Angel Leng did not say much and flew directly to the outside of the earth. Although Jezailan felt embarrassed, he also understood that at this time, the most important thing was to carry out the mission, so he also remained silent and followed Angel Leng. Together with them, they quickly flew towards the cosmic coordinates provided by Lion Fin. At the same time, at the edge of the solar system, Du Qiangwei and Angel Zhixin were standing back to back. Around them were a large number of demon soldiers, each of them holding a shield. In the hidden space, there were even more demons holding god-killing sniper rifles, aiming at them through the wormhole at all times. Du Qiangwei, our queen's target is only you. As long as you follow us obediently, we will let her go immediately. Sword Demon Atro stepped forward. His purpose of appearing this time was not to kill anyone, but to take Du Qiangwei away. Don't even think about it, Zixin directly refused. Atto, you didn't beat us last time in Fraser. Now you're bringing so many demons with you. Are you afraid that you'll fail again? So you want to divide us and defeat us one by one? Du Qiangwei didn't believe what Sword Demon Atto said. What about taking me away and letting Zixin leave? This is clearly to disintegrate their joint forces. Atto, don't talk nonsense with him. The Earth has sent Jezailan, Angel Leng and Angel Zhu to support us. You must take them down as quickly as possible, Attai reminded. The time and space gene in your body was developed by our queen. She asked us to take you back to help you discover the ability of this time and space gene, not to harm you. Atto was still trying to persuade. He had already seen that Morgana had a great liking for Du Qiangwei. If Du Qiangwei really came to Morgana's side in the future, Morgana might train her as her own heir. Du Qiangwei might become the new demon king in the future. He couldn't defend Du Qiangwei too much at this time. Nonsense, do you think I will believe you? Du Qiangwei now felt that no matter what the demons said, they were lying to her. She just found out that her father was sniped by the demons and was almost killed. The demons were now Du Qiangwei's biggest enemies. How could she believe what her enemies said? Chapter 256, Space-Time Flare. Since you don't want to believe anything I say, don't blame me for taking action. Seeing that Du Qiangwei didn't believe what he said, Atro thought that the reinforcements had been sent from Earth, so he had no choice but to take action. He waved a sort of command and stepped forward, aiming to attack Du Qiangwei directly. He needed to lead Du Qiangwei away. As long as Du Qiangwei and Angel Zixin were separated, the remaining people could directly use God Killer number 1 to attack Angel Zixin. Even if it was the Holy Right Wing Guard, without the support of the Holy Knowledge Treasure House, the destructive power generated by God Killer number 1 would still hurt the opponent, and the super gene in her body would be affected and the energy would decrease. As long as it was weakened, it would not be difficult to kill it. After all, even Sunlight Reina, who had top genes, could be easily controlled by Black Wind after suffering continuous attacks and depleting her energy. Angel Zixin's combat power might be stronger than Reina's now, but her physical fitness was definitely not as high as Reina's. This was determined by the super gene itself. After all, the light of the sun was designed to be the top super warrior from the very beginning, and is the main god of the fiery sun star. No matter how strong Zhin is, she is only a right wing guard so far. Facing Achuo's attack, Du Qiangwei dared not neglect it at all. At that time in Fraser, she and Zhin joined forces, and both of them spent a lot of effort to drive Achuo away. Now they are still facing Achuo, but there are still more than a dozen high-level demons around Achuo, and there is the full support of demon number 1 behind him. A large number of demons are aiming at them with god-killing sniper rifles. Don't fight them hard, just hold on, Angel Zhin said. and then waved his two swords directly and rushed towards a demon in front of the left. Once the demons join forces, they will use a special space blockade formation. Although SYNOPSIS has never fought against a demon army head-on, she is the one with the strongest learning ability among the new generation of the Angel Army, so she has long understood these fighting methods of the demons. Therefore, when SYNOPSIS makes a move, the goal is to directly break the opponent's formation and prevent the opponent from launching a joint attack. I have the ability of wormholes, so it's hard for them to trap me. But you have to be careful of their wormhole sniping ability, Du Qiangwei reminded, and then she suddenly stepped back, retreated directly into the wormhole, and moved to dozens of meters away. In Du Qiangwei's hands, two daggers had been summoned. These were the weapons that Li Qingyun gave her when she left the earth. This was a weapon very similar to the flying blade used by Li Qingyun, and it was also made of dark silver. It was very convenient to solve the wormhole, just right to cooperate with Du Qiangwei's super gene ability to exert the best attack effect. The most important thing is that the dark silver weapon is very sharp. Even Acho, who has been upgraded to a god, can be easily cut into the body of the god when facing Du Qiangwei's two daggers. If he was accidentally hit in the vitals during the battle, the sword demon Acho would be seriously injured. Therefore, when facing Du Qiangwei, he also had to be cautious and pay attention to his own safety when taking action. Now, he still had to consider Du Qiangwei's safety. He couldn't kill her by mistake, otherwise he wouldn't be able to explain to Morgana. How can you catch Qiangwei if you fight with such restraint? Morgana was completely speechless watching from the devil number 1. Even if he knew that he and Du Qiangwei had a special relationship, he couldn't be so timid in the battle. It was impossible to exert his full strength in such a battle, so how could he catch Du Qiangwei? Ado, don't worry about it, just go all out, Morgana ordered, and then explained. She is the rose of time and space, and she has a third-generation divine body. Even if you go all out, you can only seriously injure her at most. As long as you don't make up for it afterwards, she won't die. Super soldiers, even if they are only first or second generation super soldiers, are difficult to die when attacked. Just like He Whelan in the original book, who was shot directly through the chest by a god killer number 1, but after a night's rest, he recovered quickly. As for the third generation of super soldiers, let alone god killer number 1, even the damage caused by other god killers to them is not fatal, unless you continue to finish off the opponent after knocking him down, or like in the original book, Thornton killed the angel Fang Xing and Keisha killed the demon. Directly cut off the head or smashed it to pieces. Understood. Acho received the order from the queen herself, and finally stopped holding back. The sword of command kept slashing, and its speed also soared rapidly, chasing Du Qiangwei and attacking crazily. Du Qiangwei saw Acho's fierce attack and knew that with her physical fitness, once she was hit, she would definitely not be able to bear it. She could only retreat quickly and use wormholes from time to time to avoid fatal attacks. On the other side, the angel Zixin, who had just rushed out of the demon's blockade formation, immediately saw Du Qiangwei's situation. She wanted to go to support, but two demons holding shields directly blocked her way forward. At the same time, two red lights shot from both sides at the same time, aiming at her vital points. These were all god-killing number 1 bullets. Although they were not fatal, they did have some impact. Moreover, in the back, two demons holding god-killing martial-level spears were already chasing them quickly. Damn it, Angel Zixin had no choice but to cross her two swords in front of her to directly block the two god-killing number 1 bullets, then quickly turned around, swinging the two flaming swords on the left and right at the same time, cutting out two arcs of sword energy, attacking the two spear demons flying over. The demon's mission was to kill Angel Zixin, but in addition, trapping her was the most important mission. Seeing Zixin's counterattack, the two demons holding spears quickly changed from attack to defense, and new demons holding shields rushed out from the left and right sides. A brand new defense formation was about to be reorganized and completed. Even the surrounding space had begun to react at this moment, and a large amount of dark energy was gathering. Defense with a shield? Let's see how much you can defend. Zixin was anxious. She swung both hands at the same time, and this time she didn't cut two sword arcs, but two balls of light. The two beams of light covered the two demons holding shields, and then formed a space barrier, completely encircling the demons. Then, the temperature inside the space began to rise rapidly. Abang and Zigu are under continuous attack from the flare, and the demon genes in their bodies may not be able to withstand it, Atai quickly reported to Morgana. What kind of black technology is this? Morgana was shocked. She had never seen this trick before. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 257. She is Izai's student. From the energy form, this is a solar flare bombardment, but it is blocked in a special space barrier. Atai immediately analyzed a specific situation through Demon Number 1. Can it be cracked? Morgana didn't care about this, because with her ability, she could quickly see it. The problem is how to crack it. Yes, but it takes time, at least 3 minutes, Atai replied. 3 minutes? 3 minutes is enough to melt the two of them into slag. Morgana knew very well that according to the increase in the energy of the flare, Abeng and Zigu, 2 second-generation demons, would probably not be able to withstand a minute and a half. We have never seen this move before, and there is no reference data. We have to analyze it from the beginning. Atai was also helpless about this. If they had reference data and knew the operation mode and operation rules of this move from the beginning, they might be able to analyze it at the fastest speed. But now, they know nothing about this move and don't know any situation at all, so how can they find a way to crack it in a short time? Such a little guy can actually research such a powerful move? Morgana was unwilling to believe it. How could a little angel who was only 500 years old figure out such a move that combined the space-time barrier with the solar flare in one go? The most important thing is that from a purely technical perspective, the solar flare technology is what the Shyandao civilization is good at. Although other main god civilizations in the universe also have related technologies, it can be applied to such an extent and combined with the space-time barrier so well, which is obviously not something that ordinary people can research. According to the information we have investigated, this angel Hexen is a student of Xianji King Hexi. She is Hexi's student. Morgana suddenly understood where this move came from. That's not surprising. Hexi's favorite thing is to study these things. Morgana was once the third king of angels, so she naturally knew Hexi. With Hexi's ability and knowledge, it is natural that he can develop this move, but now it has caused us trouble. Morgana sighed. Izai's ability was still so outstanding, but she felt helpless when this ability was used against herself. Abang and Zigu were doomed. Under the attack of the space-time flare, Demon Number 1 could not analyze accurate data before their bodies were melted, so there was no way to resolve it. Let everyone else be careful and don't be easily locked again, at least before we analyze the solution to the space-time flare. Don't be trapped, Morgana said. The demon soldiers in front of them all retreated a distance at this moment, not daring to approach easily. Abang and Zigu, who had been trapped in the space-time flare, could not withstand the high temperature in the space-time flare after all, and were eventually melted into a pile of waste slag, completely losing their lives. Perhaps in the near future, they can be resurrected through the super gene backup reserved by Morgana, but today, they are already dead. Use the bullets of God Killer Number 1 to continue to consume, and don't let her go to support Du Kaiang Wei, Atai reminded, and the snipers in the demon wings began to shoot at this moment. A large number of God-killing Number 1 bullets were fired continuously at Angel Hexen. Even if they could not kill Hexen, they would make her exhausted from dodging and resisting, and unable to get closer to Du Kaiang Wei. As for Du Kaiang Wei, she was in a bitter battle with Sword Demon Achuo at this time. In terms of frontal combat ability, Du Kaiang Wei was far less powerful than Achuo. However, Du Kaiang Wei's time and space gene made her extremely capable in wormhole application, and her high mobility also made it impossible for Achuo to catch her in a short time. Lao Lang, Moss, you lead people to form a space blockade on the periphery, and continuously compress the space area where Du Kaiang Wei is located, so that she cannot escape by relying on the ability of micro-wormholes, Ada instructed. On the battlefield ahead, a group of demon warriors appeared on the periphery of the area where Du Kaiang Wei and Achuo were fighting, starting from an extremely wide area and directly blocking the entire area. Jezai Island, Angel Zhu and Angel Ling are about to arrive at the combat area. Please send someone to intercept them immediately. The demon in charge of paying attention to the situation outside the battlefield gave a reminder. At the same time, Morgana and Ada had already seen the location of Jezai Island and others. At their speed, if no one stops them, They can reach the area where Du Qiangwei and Angel Zhixin are in 10 minutes at most. Once these 5 people gather together, with their combat power cooperating with each other, it will be more difficult for the demon army to subdue them than it is now. In addition, Jezailan and the other 3 must have brought a new communication channel. Demon number 1 cannot block their communication in time, and the relevant information will definitely be transmitted back to Earth. By then, more angels and Li Qingyun, the god of chaos, will definitely take action. When that time really comes, they can either choose to directly fight the entire Xiaongbing company and the angel army, and fight another battle against Keisha's level of god killing. Or they can only give up and waste the previous huge amount of energy in vain. Ziyi, take a team with you. Morgana turned around and looked at the Hunter Blade envoy who had been standing behind and watching. Yes, Queen. Ziyi didn't say much. After agreeing, she left directly, mobilized a demon team of more than 10 people, and went to intercept Jezailan, Angel Zhu and Angel Leng. Jezailan and the other 2, who were flying at the fastest speed towards the direction of Du Qiangwei and Angel Zhixin, suddenly saw an iceberg appearing in front of them. The sharp corner of the iceberg directly locked onto Angel Leng, who was flying in the front. There is an ambush, Angel Leng reminded her, and she instantly opened the wormhole, drilled into the wormhole, and moved hundreds of meters away. Jezailan and Angel Zhu, who were following behind, were farther away and on the left and right sides of the iceberg, so they just simply turned sideways and barely avoided it. However, they were not spared from the subsequent wave of attacks from the God Killer number 1 bullets. 1 bullet hit Jezailan's temple directly, and 2 hit his heart and neck artery directly. But without exception, all 3 bullets were bounced away, leaving only a small scratch on his body, and it was only a short moment before they recovered. Jezailan, the power of the galaxy, his divine body is as hard as Liu Trang, and can be directly immune to the attack of the God Killer number 1 bullet. And because of its invincible body, even if it is killed many times, it can recover quickly. It's the demon army, the one ambushing us is the demon army. Seeing these God Killer number 1 bullets fired in the attack pattern, Jezailan has already determined the identity of the opponent. Chapter 250 is comparable to the King of Gods. Inside the giant gorge, Lianfeng and Yu can receive the information sent by Jezailan at the first time. Li Qingyun, who was absorbing and digesting the program peel of the void controller in the room, naturally also understood the relevant situation. This is the demon army ambushing Qiangwei and Zhixin. Li Qingyun sent the information, but at this time, there was no one in the heroic army company who could go to space to fight. Liu Chuang, Zhao Zin, Cheng Yaowen and the like, they were not adapted to fighting in space. Even if they could barely adapt to the environment in space, they could not exert their due combat power without the ability to fly. Yan, can you lead the angels to support? At this time, only these angels who have been traveling in the universe for a long time can fight in space at will. That's for sure, Angel Yan answered without hesitation, not because Li Qingyun spoke, but because one of the 2 people who were ambushed was their angel sister. Well, I will open a space wormhole for you to the area where Jezailan is located. You can shorten a lot of time if you start from there, Li Qingyun said. It was not that he was unwilling to open a wormhole to the area where Du Qiangwei and Angel Zhixin were, but since the signal from Du Qiangwei and the others was lost, the spatial coordinates of that area had been hidden, and the demon army had directly blocked the communication in that area. In other words, Li Qingyun did not know the exact coordinates at all, nor did he know what was going on over there. If he rashly opened a wormhole and the other side prepared a heavenly punishment bombing for him, wouldn't it be a waste of time? Li Qingyun began to mobilize energy to open a wormhole for space transmission, and the appearance of the wormhole was immediately detected in Demon number 1. It's a space wormhole opened on the Earth side, and they plan to send people directly over, Atai reported quickly. Destroy this wormhole immediately, and don't let their people come over. Morgana knew very well that once the opponent's support arrived, this time they would fail. Energy allocation of Demon number 1 is prioritized, and the wormhole exit is being decomposed. Due to algorithm restrictions, the wormhole decomposition cannot proceed, cracking the algorithm, 1%, 2%. Why is it so slow? Morgana looked at the progress bar and got angry. At this rate, by the time they finish decomposing, support from Earth will have arrived. From the last battle, it is very likely that the Earth side already has a celestial level computer. Even if our Demon number 1 is better than it, it cannot destroy its wormhole in the first place, Atai answered. Morgana was helpless when she saw this situation, but she could do nothing about it. No matter who can see the situation on Earth now, Li Qingyun's appearance has completely dominated the development of the Earth. With a fourth-generation divine body, the celestial computer he developed will definitely not be bad. Now it is not as good as Demon Number 1, perhaps because the resources on Earth are scarce, or the time is too short, so it is impossible to do it in one step. But no matter what, since Li Qingyun has already taken action, her action this time is considered to be a failure again. Li Qingyun, are you really going to fight me to the death? Morgana raised her head and looked up into the air. She saw Li Qingyun far away on Earth through the universe. If you don't come to my territory, I won't care about you. I told you this early in the morning, Li Qingyun answered. He also saw Morgana in the same way. Your territory? I'm in the universe now. What does it have to do with you? Morgana has never taken any drastic actions against China. Even when she ambushed Li Qingyun, she only destroyed some cities, and that was after the Tod had destroyed them first. When she dealt with Keisha, she didn't attack the cities there. She only targeted the Xiangbinglian and the Angels. Who said my territory is limited to one country? Li Qingyun doesn't need to be low-key now. The Void Controller is already in hand, and Red Star Number 1 has been successfully launched. It will take less than 2 months for Red Star Number 2 to start using. In another year or two, the entire Red Star series will be online. By then, the overall computing effect of the Red Star computing group will not only be able to catch up with the Great Clock and the Holy Knowledge Treasury, but at least be at the same level as the space-based computing group. In terms of technology, he is not behind any god at all, and he also has the powerful forces in the Marvel Universe. Who does he, Li Qingyun, need to be afraid of? Morgana and the God of Death Karl team up? Even if he copied the trick used against Holy Kesha again, Li Qingyun was transferred to a star that was about to explode. Li Qingyun could instantly transfer to other places, or even retreat directly into the microcosm of the Soul Gem. Supernovas can shatter Holy Kesha, but they can't shatter him, Li Qingyun. What do you mean by this? Morgana's face was gloomy, and there was a hint of anger in her tone. Have you ever seen a main god civilization whose territory is just a small piece of territory on a planet? Li Qingyun asked back, and his meaning was already very clear. When the celestial computer is online, Li Qingyun is qualified to be called a true Lord God. Then the planet and the galaxy where he is located will become part of the Lord God's rule and part of his civilization. Isn't it natural? Your Earth is not qualified to be a Lord God civilization now. Morgana naturally understood the meaning of Li Qingyun's words, but she did not think that Earth had the qualifications to become a Lord God civilization. A civilization that cannot conduct a nebula-level war, a civilization that cannot enter space in the true sense, how can it be considered a Lord God civilization? Whether you are qualified or not, you can try it now. As Li Qingyun said this, a powerful dark energy emanated from his body. The powerful thinking formed a will of the universe. On this Earth, in this solar system, he is the supreme existence. At this moment, Morgana suddenly suffered a strong oppression. Her gaze on Li Qingyun was directly interrupted, and her position as the Demon King was directly shaken. This is a confrontation between Lord Gods of the same level, and a collision between two civilizations. Earth may really not be able to fully meet the various conditions of Lord God civilization. But Li Qingyun is definitely a true Master God level warrior, and he is at the top among all the Master Gods. If we really want to find someone to compare him to, it can only be the one who just fell 2 days ago, the King of Gods, Holy Kesha. Chapter 259 Void Controller Time. The demon army retreated. After the long-distance confrontation between Morgana and Li Qingyun, she directly ordered the demon army to withdraw. After that, the entire demon army returned to Demon Number 1, and all the demon warriors directly withdrew from the solar system. At least on the surface, they had completely left. Red Star Number 1 could not detect it, and Li Qingyun could not see it. The demon army retreated just like that. Angel Yan sent a message of inquiry in confusion. But Li Qingyun did not want to pay attention to her at this moment. He had completely absorbed the energy of the Void Controller, and at this moment, he was in his own dark matter plane space. This was the dark matter plane space opened up in the microcosm of the Soul Gem that belonged to Li Qingyun. All the data has been loaded, and the Void Controller operating platform is about to be built. Do you need to give this Void Controller a new code name? Li Qingyun's Super Gene System asked directly at this moment. This Super Gene System, which was originally built by the Big Clock, can be said to be the only tie between Li Qingyun and the big clock now. The big clock he originally used was left in the Marvel Universe. The big clock of this world is still in the hands of the god of death Karl. For some reason, Li Qingyun always feels that a part of his life has been lost. Perhaps it is because the big clock is too important to him. When he first crossed the Marvel Universe, he was an ordinary person with nothing. It was all because of the big clock that he was able to ascend to heaven and become the Lord of Shen in the Marvel Universe and now the God of Chaos in the Super God Universe. Just call it time. Li Qingyun cannot use the big clock directly, because it is easy to confuse the big clock of the celestial computer. But the big clock is used to measure time in conventional cognition, so Li Qingyun's upgraded void controller is called time. In the future, when the two are combined, isn't it time that controls the big clock? Void controller, time platform begins to be built, reference mode, reincarnation clock, platform construction begins. As the voice of the system echoed, a huge operating platform began to be built quickly. With the existence of the void controller, Li Qingyun does not need to use external materials to transform and build. He only needs to provide the algorithm and design, and he can create it directly through the void controller. This is the powerful ability of the void and anti-void ability after combining. Completely subverting the conventional energy laws in the universe and creating new things is the most obvious setting of Jezzaelin's heroic core. As for Li Qingyun's time, it has another ability, that is, destruction. After Li Qingyun integrated the void controller into his body, the original power of chaos magic merged with it, and then quickly began to transform the structure of energy in his body, making Li Qingyun's ability to rewrite reality even more powerful. The void controller is created by combining the void no and the void yes. Chaos magic is a real probability modification in the universe, and the energy of ether particles is just a rewrite of the definition of reality. That's right, the ether particles also appeared after Li Qingyun created this time platform at this moment. Since it combined with this sort of heavenly destruction, it left the void engine of the sort of heavenly destruction for the first time and came directly to Li Qingyun's body. It entered the dark matter plane space and integrated into the operating platform built by the void controller, that is, the time platform. Li Qingyun's idea of combining the four energies of void, anti-void, reality gem, and chaos magic to create a new energy, which he had envisioned since he was in the Marvel Universe, has finally been completed at this moment. At this moment, Li Qingyun is standing in the center of this time platform. He is standing on a huge clock model, at the center of the time axis. When he turns his left hand, time will move forward. When he turns his right hand, time will flow backward. At this moment, time has become a plaything in Li Qingyun's hands. In addition, space, objects, and energy are also under his control. The time platform is just a name for it. In fact, it is a perfect interpretation of Li Qingyun's title of the God of Chaos. He has truly mastered the degree of chaos. Time, space, objects, life, etc. All known rules and abilities are under Li Qingyun's control. Unless he cannot understand it, as long as he can understand it, he can control and modify it. From this point of view, from now on, as long as Li Qingyun's level of cognition is infinitely raised, the more comprehensive his understanding is, the stronger his ability will become. As a celestial computer that records all the information of the known universe of the super seminary, the value of the big clock has been enhanced at this moment. Theoretically, the void controller is invincible, but its actual ability depends on the user, the super gene system explained. I understand. Li Qingyun naturally understood what all he had now meant. Chaos magic, ether particles, and the void controller, all three are set to change reality and the universe. Now that these three powers are completely integrated into one, the power it possesses is naturally extremely powerful. But Li Qingyun is still a technology god to a greater extent, and everything about the technology god is built on cognition, understanding, and creation. The first step is cognition, then understanding, and finally creation. I have heard of a saying that there is a cosmic wall between each universe, that is, a kind of energy that distinguishes the entire universe from other universes. Can you find this energy from the microcosm of the soul gem? Li Qingyun had actually thought of this problem a long time ago. Further develop and integrate the power of the microcosm of the soul gem into your body. This is the third and final research direction of the Super Seminary. Research direction on dimensional space, dark matter plane space, soul gems microcosm space. These can all be explained as separate dimensional spaces. But compared to the dark matter plane space, Soul Gem's microcosm space has one more function, that is, it can be carried by Li Qingyun to travel across dimensions. Therefore, Soul Gem must have greater advantages than ordinary dark matter plane space, and these advantages, in Li Qingyun's guess, belong to something unique to an independent microcosm. He thought of some scenes that had appeared in Dragon Ball Super and in Ultraman Zero's animation. That was a scene that appeared when the 12 universes of Dragon Ball Super appeared at the same time, and when Ultraman Zero flew out of his own universe and saw other universes. That is, each separate universe seems to be like a sphere, wrapped in a special layer on the outside, making it an independent existence. And this kind of thing, Li Qingyun believes, may be the so-called cosmic wall, or cosmic membrane. Chapter 260, Cosmic Wall and Dimensional Space. There is no relevant record in the database, but according to your self-understanding, I may be able to explore and research and analyze the microcosmic domain of the Soul Gem. Li Qingyun is the subject, and the Super Gene System is an auxiliary tool, including the Celestial Computer, Big Clock and the Void Controller, Time, which are all auxiliary. Only when Li Qingyun gives them the direction and the object of research, can they perform calculations and analysis. Moreover, the results of the analysis and calculation will also have a direct connection with Li Qingyun's own cognition, the records of past data, etc. Once the research on the cosmic wall is successful, it will be a leap forward for Super God technology and will truly break through the limitations of the known universe. Li Qingyun thought so in his heart, but at the same time, he began to think about other problems. The cosmic wall still needs a period of research and analysis, at least to get accurate data first. But now, Li Qingyun has to upgrade his time platform first. From today on, his original way of fighting needs to be modified to a certain extent. In the past, Li Qingyun used to use his own divine power and superpowers, but with the existence of this void controller, Time, his way of fighting has changed fundamentally. Cognition, understanding, and creation, everything can be achieved through these three steps. As long as you know what you are about to face, and then understand the essence of this thing, you can directly create or control it. General Kang Wei and the others are back. Lian Feng's voice came, calling Li Qingyun back from the state of upgrading the time platform. Let them go to the conference room, I will be there soon, Li Qingyun said, and then he completed the transformation of the last process in front of him. Other places can only be dealt with when they are free in the future. Coming out of the dark matter plane space, Li Qingyun went to the conference room. When he arrived there, Du Kang Wei, Jezai Island, Angel Yan, Angel Xiaxin and others had already arrived here. Lian Feng and Yukin also stood behind Li Qingyun. They were intelligence officers and medical officers, and they knew the logistics support of the Xiaongbing company best. At the same time, they were also Li Qingyun's secretaries and assistants. Li Qingyun handed many things over to them. Therefore, in some formal occasions, they would follow to facilitate providing Li Qingyun with relevant information and detailed intelligence at any time. This ambush is the second since we went to Fraser, but unlike the last one, their goal is not to kill us, but to take Kang Wei away directly, Angel Xiaxin said. They came back from Fraser in a hurry, and now they are sitting in this conference room, and what they want to discuss is naturally related to the demon army. Now the common enemy between the angels and the earth is only the demon. Are they trying to win over Kang Wei? Liu Chuang asked. When he was ambushed by the demon army, when the other party found that they could not attack by force, Morgana also tried to win him over. She also won over Sultan. But Liu Chuang refused, and Sultan directly stated that he only recognized Li Qingyun as his big brother, and he didn't care about anyone else. This time the demon army suddenly launched such an ambush on Du Kang Wei, and it was not for the purpose of killing the gods, so the reason could only be this. It's not to win over. Morgana's purpose is to directly train Kang Wei as the successor of the demon army, Li Qingyun said. What? Liu Chuang was a little confused. Take Kang Wei as the heir? But Kang Wei is not a demon, why would Morgana want to choose her as the heir? Angel Yan frowned. Their attitude towards demons has always been firm. If Kang Wei becomes the heir of a demon, this problem will be serious. Morgana's former identity was actually Lianbing, the Apocalypse King of Mellow Heaven. Together with your teachers Keisha and Hexi, they are called the Three Angel Kings. They can be said to be one of the founders of Mellow Heaven. Li Qingyun looked at Angel Yan and Angel Xiaxin, but after hearing Li Qingyun's explanation, the two of them behaved differently. Angel Yan had a solemn expression, while Angel Zixin was slightly surprised. Obviously, Angel Yan knew some information about Liang Bing. After all, she became an angel 7,000 years earlier than Angel Zixin, and she had been with Holy Keisha for a long time, so she naturally had access to more core secrets about Melo Heaven. Angel Zixin is only 500 years old, and has been Hexi's student for even shorter time. He has not had time to learn all kinds of vast scientific and technological knowledge, so how can he pay attention to these historical secrets? The reason why Liang Bing and Keisha turned against each other was because Liang Bing was determined to study the void, and in the process of studying the void, he was deeply trapped in the ultimate fear and other thoughts, and began to diverge from Keisha's ideas. After that, Liang Bing directly transformed Consistar and created the demon civilization, which directly made the two of them enemies confronting each other. Ideas and grievances began to accumulate, and it became like this today, but the source of all this, that is, at the beginning, was actually because of a super soldier plan. When Li Qingyun said this, he paused for a moment and looked at Du Qiangwei, who had been silent all the time. At this time, everyone else also looked over the super soldier plan. Everyone could actually guess that this should be the time and space gene in Du Qiangwei's body. Liang Bing's idea is to create an unprecedented god. She has the powerful ability to control time and space, can achieve true eternity, and can make the ultimate fear retreat, but the creation of this god requires a lot of resources as supply. With the ability of Melo Heaven at that time, it may take all of its efforts to do it. Saint Keisha thought that the angels had gone through thousands of years of war to finally overthrow the era of male angels' rule. Now that they have finally won, they should give other angels more resources so that they can all grow together. Therefore, this super soldier plan that can control time and space was directly denied by Keisha. In addition, Holy Keisha expelled the super seminary from the Angel Nebula and completely banned the research on the void, etc., which eventually made the gap between the two sisters in thought and philosophy even greater. What Li Qingyun said at this moment was the origin of the entire war between angels and demons. It was the fundamental reason why the Apocalypse King Liang Bing and the Skyblade King Keisha developed from the original sisters to the most difficult enemies today. After Keisha rejected Liang Bing's super soldier plan, Liang Bing left her related research in the super seminary. Later, the principal of space used the resources of the super seminary and Denner civilization to help Liang Bing try out the super soldier plan. At this point, everything became clear. The super gene engineering left by the super seminary and Denner civilization is most famous for the three major god-making projects, but Du Qiangwei has always been the tactical caller. How could the super gene that Du Kao gave to his own daughter be an ordinary super gene? Chapter 261 Super Seminary guides the development of the entire universe. The reason why Du Qiangwei was valued by the Demon King Morgana was clear. Because the super gene that Du Qiangwei possessed was researched by Morgana herself, how could she not love it? Speaking of which, there are quite a few god-level genes on your Earth. When Angel Yan said this, he looked at Jezai Aglan, Sun Wukong and Liu Chuang. These three are the Galaxy Power, Fighting Buddha, and no Star Wars God. In the records of the Sacred Knowledge Treasure House, they are all recorded as very powerful super warriors. Moreover, among these three, two are called the three major god-making projects. Fighting Buddha was also created by Mr. Wu, the former mentor of the Super God Academy. In addition to Du Qiangwei, who is now mentioned. It was originally thought that she was just a mortal with a lifespan of only 1,000 years, but now it has been confirmed that Liang Bing spent thousands of years researching it, and then the Super God Academy perfected it on its basis. This means that there are 4 god-level genes on Earth alone, plus the light of the sun, which now has a very good relationship with the Earth, that is, the 5 god-level genes. No, even if Lena is not included, there are still 5. Isn't there Li Qingyun, who has a stronger gene than the god-level one? In Keisha's analysis, he is just like the super soldiers of the Ziongbing Company, a young man who has lived for 20 to 30 years, but now whose strength is at the same level as the Demon King Morgana. It's not that there are many god-level genes on Earth, but that there are many god-level genes in the super seminary, Li Qingyun said. Everyone has actually underestimated this school. As the former main god of Shen civilization, the principal of space founded the super seminary. From the beginning, he was destined to be the top and most special existence in this universe. Super Seminary, Angel Yan frowned. The Super Seminary had also been to the Angel Nebula, and even reached a cooperation with the Mellow Heavenly Court. The Super Seminary established a branch in the Mellow Heavenly Court. The god of death Karl and Liangbing were both mentors of the Super Seminary during that period. Now, more than 10,000 years have passed, and the god of death Karl has become the one who knows the most about void technology in the universe. Even the holy Keisha can't do anything to him, and was even destroyed by the god of death Karl and Morgana. Liangbing has now become the Demon King and the main god of the demon civilization. The Super Seminary, this seemingly scattered organization, has unknowingly affected the development of the entire known universe. From the birth of the super soldiers at the beginning, to the development of the god-killing weapon, the emergence of the three major god-making projects, the upgrading of the divine body, and then to the current void technology, the Super Seminary has actually been guiding the development of technology and civilization in the entire known universe. Although Holy Kesha developed the theocracy civilization to its peak, the concept of theocracy was first proposed by the Super Seminary and was first practiced by the Shen civilization. Kesha was not the original creator. The technological arms race that broke out between the later Denner civilization and the subsequent outbreak of the Nebula-level war were also caused by the influence of the Super Seminary. Now the Void Age is gradually approaching. Although the Super Seminary seems to be only on Earth, it has trained more than a dozen super soldiers in the Xiangbing Company, but in fact, the concept of the Void was proposed by the Super Seminary from the beginning. Principle of Space, God of Death Karl, King of Apocalypse Liangbing, etc., all have extremely deep research in this area. Today's galactic power was created based on void technology, Li Qingyun said. He actually had more insights into the Super Seminary than others. Not only because he was pulled to the fantasy world by the space principle, but more importantly, he created the Super God Academy when he was in the Marvel Universe. Although his Super God Academy was newly created, and Li Qingyun was the only one in the Super God Academy who truly understood the Super God technology. But with the basic theories and knowledge of Super God technology announced by Li Qingyun, the entire Super God Academy is also developing rapidly. Hundreds of scientists and talented teenagers gathered together will soon grow into true Super God scholars. As the first Super God Academy in the Marvel Universe, these scholars of the Super God Academy will become the same as Teacher Wu and the God of Death Karl in the future. If any one of them is released, he may be able to lead a civilization to a new height. The power of the Super God Academy is indeed extraordinary, and the significance of its existence is also very huge for the entire known universe, Angel Yan said with emotion. How is the Super God Academy? Isn't it time to discuss it now? Du Qiangwei spoke. The core of the whole incident had never said a word before. No matter who originally researched my super gene and what kind of contribution the Super Seminary made, there is one thing that cannot be ignored, that is, I am now an Earthling, and Morgana almost killed my father, Du Qiangwei directly stated her attitude. Even if the super gene abilities she possessed were all researched because of Morgana. Even if she was provided by the Super Seminary and was a descendant of the Denner civilization, she was born and raised on Earth, and her mother was also an Earthling, and this was already her home. I understand what you mean, and we don't think you should go with Morgana. Li Qingyun looked at Du Qiangwei. He admired Du Qiangwei's attitude at this time. In fact, in the original timeline, she finally joined the Demon Legion, and Li Qingyun could also understand these actions. Although Morgana killed her father, she could only take such means to protect her beloved Earth. She hated Morgana, but Morgana died to save her and spent a lot of resources to train herself. It was reasonable for her to defend the demon army and consistar from Morgana. However, there are some things I still have to tell you clearly, Li Qingyun said. If you stay on Earth, with the resources of our Earth today, it is impossible to train you like Morgana. I can't find enough resources for you to upgrade to the 4th generation of God in 1 or 2 years, and I don't have the best technology to guide your space-time gene development. You have to rely on your own ability to study how to use the space-time gene accurately. The resources you can get also need to be shared equally with Xiaolin, Liu Chuang and others. Sometimes, for the sake of the Earth, I will tilt most of the resources towards a certain person, or even use them for myself. I know, Du Qiangwei interrupted Li Qingyun. She understood, and she thought it was the right thing to do. Everything Li Qingyun did was always based on the overall situation. Did she get the priority of tilting resources before others? Otherwise, how could she be a 3rd-generation divine body now, and possess so much knowledge about time and space genes? Chapter 262 Death Karl's Speculation. Dark Nebula, Death Song Academy. My God, the demon army has left the solar system, Snow was standing in front of the office of the god of death Carl, reporting the latest situation to him. The demon army has left. Carl put down the book in his hand. This news surprised him. Didn't Morgana want to make the Earth their new home? Didn't she want to take the time and space rose back into her hands and cultivate it into true time and space god? Why did she leave the Earth so easily now? Carl couldn't understand how much Morgana valued the Earth. How could she leave so suddenly when she had just destroyed the Holy Kesha and everything was going smoothly? Earlier today, Morgana had organized a battle against Du Wei, but this battle did not seem to cause much disturbance, and there was no full-scale war between the two sides. However, after this battle, Morgana suddenly withdrew from the solar system with her demon army. Snow reported that the movements of the demon army on the Earth were all monitored by Snow, because the god of death Carl needed to negotiate with a fiery sun star, and he was busy obtaining black hole materials. No full-scale war broke out. The god of death Carl was even more confused. With Morgana's tough attitude, how could she leave so easily if she didn't really fight with all her strength? Unless, could it be that Morgana has seen the factors that make it impossible to win? When the god of death Carl thought of this, a name emerged in his mind: Li Qingyun. Morgana had launched a god-killing battle against Li Qingyun. At that time, Morgana even took action personally, and used the quasi-void concept strike he provided to the demon army to launch an attack. But in the end, the demon army still failed to defeat Li Qingyun, and even failed to severely injure him. On the contrary, the 3 Teodi vanguard legions that cooperated with a plan to invade the Earth were all killed by the heroic soldiers of the Earth. However, at that time, the demon army analyzed Li Qingyun's full combat power and felt that it was still possible to carry out the plan to kill the gods against Holy Kesha. Later, they took advantage of the fact that Li Qingyun was busy with a certain research and could not be distracted, and directly launched the action. Now, Morgana did not even fight Li Qingyun head-on, and directly withdrew from the solar system with a large force. This must be because she felt that there was no point in staying on Earth. At least after weighing the pros and cons, she felt that the disadvantages outweighed the advantages, so she withdrew. What exactly were you researching when you attacked Holy Kesha last time? Death Carl already understood that the research or upgrade that would produce such an effect must be extremely important to Li Qingyun. Thinking of the fact that Li Qingyun would rather let the demon army launch an attack on the Grand Canyon, and that Li Qingyun did not forcefully terminate his current state after the death of Holy Kesha, the god of death Carl became more and more convinced that the research at that time must have been of great significance to Li Qingyun. The sudden withdrawal of the demon army today was also due to this reason. Send an order to the people of the Teodi army, and let them prepare to withdraw from the solar system. The god of death Carl did not care too much about the Teodi army, but they were his army after all. And sometimes they could also play a role. Therefore, he would still do some simple reminders. Let the Teodi army withdraw from the solar system. Snow was shocked. In general, the god of death Carl would not interfere with the military operations of the Teodi army, only when it involved major plans and guidelines. For example, letting the Teodi army go to Earth was what the god of death Carl planned. The demon army has already withdrawn. There is no point for them to stay on Earth. It is better to withdraw as soon as possible. After saying this, the god of death Carl continued to lower his head and began to study the contents of the book. Now, what he really needs to do is to bomb the black hole as soon as possible to obtain black hole matter through the technology obtained from Pan Zhen. In addition, the research on the black hole engine must also be carried out. Today, there is a chaos god on Earth that can make Morgana retreat. If he cannot create a new void god that can match him as soon as possible, then the situation of the entire universe will change rapidly under the influence of this chaos god. Yes, I will go and pass the message to the devouring beast. Snow agreed, then turned and left. He went directly to the Teodi Legion in the solar system. He came to the king's flagship of the Teodi Legion and directly found the devouring beast king, who was discussing the plan to attack the Earth. Messenger, seeing Snow's appearance, King Shi immediately greeted him respectfully, and the other Teodi bowed directly, showing great respect for Snow. I am here to convey the order of my god Carl. The Teodi army is ready to withdraw from the solar system. Snow directly explained his purpose. Withdraw from the solar system? King Shi was shocked. This was the star system they had finally arrived at? They had assembled hundreds of thousands of troops here, and had not yet launched a real attack on the Earth. Why did they suddenly ask them to withdraw? These are the words of my god Carl, but he didn't say when you would withdraw. and he wouldn't care what you did before you retreated. After Snow finished speaking, he immediately disappeared. After Snow left, she fell into deep thought. Snow's last sentence made she very concerned, because Snow's words clearly had other meanings. King, does the messenger mean that we should launch another attack before withdrawing from the solar system? Xia Ocean walked out from the side. He is the most capable assistant of Shishi, a general with a high status in the Teodi Corps, and a Teodi who has more contact with people from the Death Song Academy. Therefore, he has figured out Snow's habit of saying half and not saying half. We have come all the way here. If we leave without really fighting, it will be too embarrassing. Shishi understood that the god of death Karl asked them to retreat because he must have realized something and felt that there was no need for them to stay. But as the king of the Teodi Corps and the most fanatical war element, he could not just look at the fat meat at his mouth and remain indifferent. Contact General Panchen for me, and let all his corps be in place. We are ready to launch a new round of attack, King Shishi said to Xia Ocean on the side. They have been planning for a long time, especially now that the Holy Keisha of the Angel Corps has been killed, and he himself has obtained a new void engine. How could he be content without fighting a battle? Chapter 263 Void Creation Hand-Rubbing Red Star Series. On Earth, the Shongbing Company led by Li Qingyun is making a tactical adjustment. There are huge disadvantages in setting up the headquarters on the Giant Gorge. When the war enters the aerospace level, a unit like an aircraft carrier can be directly destroyed by a simple attack. The last time the Demon Army launched an attack, they could actually directly destroy the Giant Gorge through the Heavenly Punishment bombing and destroy the entire Shongbing Company's command and combat system. However, Li Qingyun was in a state of being unable to move because he was creating a void controller at the time. If the Demon Army destroyed the Giant Gorge, it would be equivalent to forcing Li Qingyun to attack their Demon Army directly, so the Demon Army did not attack the Giant Gorge itself. But this kind of thing cannot be hoped that the other party will not destroy it, but it should be that they have enough ability to avoid all this from happening. Therefore, Li Qingyun decided to move the Shongbing Company's combat command center. The place of transfer is the area where the Black Great Wall is located, which is directly based on the base of the Black Great Wall. Li Qingyun had already made some arrangements there earlier, and when Liang Feng stayed there, even the control platform had been built. With Red Star number 1, the base itself is also the most suitable place on the entire Earth for commanding operations. Is this the Black Great Wall? Everyone was shocked when they looked at the huge base in front of them. Especially when they saw the huge Mandangshan number 1 that was being manufactured, and the celestial computer Red Star number 1, they were even more shocked. Although the Earth now has super soldiers, it does not have the equipment to fight in space. If there's this Mandangshan number 1, this problem can be solved. In addition, the existence of the celestial computer is of great concern to all super soldiers, because they all know that it is because of the existence of Red Star number 1 that they were able to have a certain resistance when facing the attack of the Demon Army last time. Otherwise, facing the wave after wave of attacks from the Demon Army, I am afraid that the Giant Gorge would have fallen long ago. I didn't expect that the Earth would have created a celestial computer so quickly. This Red Star number 1 should be manufactured with reference to the model of the space-based computing group, right? Angel Yan looked at the Red Star number 1 in front of him and asked his question directly. This time, when Xiangbinglian changed the combat command center, the angels also came with him. Angel Yan, Angel Xiaxin and other angels were actually very happy about Li Qingyun's behavior of not guarding against the angels at all. At least, the Earthlings did not regard them as enemies and had enough trust in them. I did borrow the construction mode of the space-based computing group, but the production principle of this Red Star number 1 was directly built with reference to the Big Clock. The celestial computer that Li Qingyun is most familiar with must be the Big Clock. The reason why the space-based computing group was chosen to develop the Red Star series is that with the current resources and technical level of the Earth, it would be extremely difficult to directly build a celestial computer like the Big Clock. Moreover, it would take too long, which would also cause the development of Xiangbinglian and the entire Earth to lag behind. Even if Li Qingyun is manufacturing it now with the state of the Void Controller, the scale of a single celestial computer will be greatly limited. Just like the universe created by Jezailan in the original book through the Void Controller, using the operation data of the Big Clock recorded in Shinran number 7 to simulate. Although Kyankin is also a celestial computer, it has helped Jezailan a lot in improving his strength. However, Kyankin is only a small celestial computer. Compared with the Big Clock and the Sacred Knowledge Treasure House, it is far behind in terms of computing power. Although the space-based computing group is not as good as these two, judging from His application and actual operation effect, its computing power can at least be comparable to the Sacred Knowledge Treasure House to a certain extent. Red Star number 1 refers to the computing mode of the space-based computing group, connects multiple small celestial computers in a special way, increases the computing rate, and makes its overall effect more powerful. For the current Earth, if we can build a Red Star series like the space-based computing group, it is indeed of great significance. Angel Yan is very clear about the importance of the space-based computing group to the mellow heavenly court. Therefore, she naturally knows how important it would be to the Earth if the Earth has the same celestial computer sequence as the space-based computing group. In fact, now, I can directly complete the subsequent construction project. As Li Qingyun spoke, he suddenly raised his right hand and pointed it at the manufacturing platform he reserved for the next 4 Red Star series celestial computers. Afterwards, a large amount of matter was created out of thin air, and they were created in the image of Red Star number 1. It would take Li Qingyun a lot of time to create a new and more powerful celestial computer out of thin air. But it was very easy for him to just copy Red Star number 1. This Red Star number 1 was originally designed by him, and all the data was in Li Qingyun's hands. He only needed to copy the data again, and then completely copy and create it through the void controller, time. Therefore, Red Star number 2, Red Star number 3, Red Star number 4 and Red Star number 5 were almost all quickly created under Li Qingyun's operation. Each machine in the Red Star series is bound through some lines and dark energy channels. During calculation, the entire Red Star series can operate together. But if necessary, the Red Star series can also be separated immediately and operated separately. In addition, in Li Qingyun's plan, the 5 machines in the Red Star series are bound to a user respectively. Red Star number 1 was naturally used directly by Li Qingyun, Red Star number 2 belonged to Sun Wukong, Red Star number 3 was provided to Jezailan, Red Star number 4 was for Du Qiang Wei, and Red Star number 5 was for Liu Chuang. On Earth today, Li Qingyun is a well-deserved leader, and Sun Wukong, Jezailan, Du Qiang Wei and Liu Chuang all have the potential to become the main gods. As for Rina, although she has a high status in the team of Xiangbinglian and is the so-called captain. But in the end, Rina only came from Liang Star to support Earth. She belongs to Liang Star of Xiandao civilization, not to Earth. They can give Rina enough respect, but they will never provide Rina with Earth's resources. This is a matter of principle. Your ability. Angel Yan didn't know Li Qingyun's arrangements for the Red Star series and his plans for the future of Earth. But at this moment, she was completely shocked by Li Qingyun's operation. Directly creating matter out of thin air and making the remaining 4 small celestial computers in the Red Star series. This ability is unprecedented. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 264, The Fierce Tide starts. The TOD launches a large-scale attack. Red Star number 1 energy is mobilized. Prepare to activate all other Red Star series. Stellar energy dispatch is completed. Power gem reserve energy is activated. Red Star system is successfully online. According to the original plan, start to connect to Dao Shang's Onbuda, galaxy power, time and space rose, and no Star War God. As the voice came in, Jezailan, Du Qiang Wei and Liu Chuang immediately felt that their state became more special. Not only did the super genes in their bodies become more active and their energy became full, but even what they wanted to study and operate became extremely easy. At the same time, Sun Wukong, who had arrived at Proxima Centauri, also felt his physical state at this time. He immediately realized the exploration of the entire Proxima Centauri through Red Star number 2. The ability of the fire eyes and golden pupils was greatly enhanced, and even his mobilization of energy and control of his clones became simpler. Old Li, did you get all your Red Star series out at once? Sun Wukong asked, and his question was immediately transmitted to Li Qingyun and the control room of the Black Great Wall through the communication program of the Red Star series. Yes, Li Qingyun answered. Brother Monkey, how is the situation over there? Sun Wukong went to the Proxima Galaxy this time and entered Proxima with an important mission. The content of dark iron elements in this area is not bad. I have collected some of them. It should take another month or two to collect them completely, Sun Wukong said, and Su Xiaoli beside him was communicating with a local tribal female leader at this time. The collection of dark iron elements is very important, but it is also necessary to establish an alliance between Proxima and us. After all, our Earth will expand towards each other. It is better to become an ally in a friendly way than to conquer by force. When Li Qingyun was in the Marvel Universe, although he would use force, if it was feasible, he would still conquer those life planets in a gentle way. After all, those who surrender with personal charm are more reliable than those who conquer with force alone. Use both kindness and force. Are you still not confident that I, old Sun, can do things? Sun Wukong was full of confidence in his mission this time. Don't worry, of course I don't worry, otherwise why would I choose you, brother monkey, to go to Proxima, Li Qingyun said, and then exchanged a few pleasantries, and finally hung up the call. This conversation was just a casual talk when the Red Star series was launched, and it was not a necessary situation report, so naturally it would not waste too much time. Now that the Red Star series has just been fully launched, there are still many things to deal with. Warning, warning, abnormal movement of the Teoti core has been detected, abnormal movement of the Teoti core has been detected. The defense system of the Red Star series sounded an alarm, and for a moment, everyone changed from their previous calmness and joy. Lionfeng, Li Qingyun looked at Lionfeng. There is a fleet of more than 50 spaceships, adjusting their sailing direction, and it seems to have locked onto the Earth. Lionfeng called up the data monitored by the Red Star series and saw a large group of spaceships that were turning around and then quickly flying towards the Earth. 50, Xiaoli asked in shock. The last time the Teoti troops came in 3 groups. There were only 9 ships in total. This time, there are 5 or 6 times more, Zhao said. More than 5 or 6 times. The scale of this operation is obviously different from the previous Vanguard operation, according to the data analyzed by the Red Star series. Although they only sent out more than 50 ships, the total force exceeded 100,000, which is more than 10 times the previous one. In addition, the Red Star series also detected a large amount of high energy. It is suspected that there are a lot of super powerful weapons hidden in their fleet. Lionfeng quickly mobilized the energy of the Red Star series and began to cover the Teoti army. Now the computing and retrieval capabilities of the entire Red Star series are much stronger than when there was only one Red Star number 1 before, so as long as they are willing, they can investigate the situation in the entire solar system. Start the high-precision defense program to detect the status of all small combat aircraft to prevent the other party from using the fierce tide, Li Qingyun reminded. After all, the Teoti army belongs to the death god Karl, and they are a group of guys who can do anything to kill. Although Li Qingyun had issued a nuclear restriction order long ago, even the demon army had not violated this restriction order so far. But Li Qingyun could not rely on others to abide by the rules, so he needed to take corresponding defensive measures in advance. It was detected that a small aircraft was rapidly approaching the asteroid belt in low Earth orbit. It contained extremely high energy inside and was suspected to be a fierce tide. The other party's target has been locked, and it is the location of the South China Sea Fleet, Lionfeng said. The other party does not know that our combat command center has been moved to the Black Great Wall, so their goal should be to destroy our command center first, so as to disrupt our global command and combat capabilities, Lionfeng expressed her opinion. Although we have moved, the South China Sea Fleet is still an important military force of the country. There are still tens of thousands of soldiers on the giant gorge. We can't watch it being destroyed. Xiaoli was the first to stand up. Do you remember the anti-void application method I taught you? Li Qingyun asked. Remember, Xiaoli nodded. Go ahead, just knock down the evil tide for me. To be on the safe side, I will set up an algorithm for you that can stimulate its defensive effect based on your own energy. As long as your energy is sufficient, you can be immune to all known damage. Li Qingyun has not yet matched the void controller for Xiaoli because there is not enough time. It has only been 10 days since the battle between gods and gods. In these 10 days, they first gathered the angels again, then urgently rescued Du Wei, and then arranged the transfer of the combat command center. Li Qingyun had no time to spare and cooperate with Xiaoli to make a second void controller. Now that we have the Red Star series, The manufacturing speed of the Void Controller can be accelerated, but it also requires 2 people to cooperate, and it will take about a day. We still have to wait until all the important things at hand are dealt with before we can make it. Yes, I will definitely defend the giant gorge, Jezzailin said. And then flew directly out of the Black Great Wall and flew to the space coordinates where the South China Sea Fleet is located. His goal is to intercept the evil tide of the Teodi Legion. You can watch over Xiaolin. If he gets into trouble while resisting the fierce tide, provide timely treatment. Yes, you can agreed. Lianfeng, prepare to activate the Mangdangshan. Red Star number 3 and number 4 are ready to recharge the Mangdangshan. Yes, Lianfeng said, and started the operation directly. Chapter 265, Physical Resistance to Antimatter Bomb. Mangdangshan, as a super-large spacecraft that can enter space for combat, requires a huge amount of energy to start it. In the original work, it was Reyna who mobilized the global stellar energy to fill it with the power of the sun's light to activate it. Now, with the power of the Red Star series, the Black Great Wall can naturally quickly mobilize a large amount of energy. Besides, there is Li Qingyun here, and Li Qingyun has special things like infinite gems in his hands, which can be used as backup energy. On the other side, Jezzailin, who went to space alone to intercept the fierce tide, has arrived at the designated location. The small launcher hidden behind a huge meteorite fragment in the asteroid belt outside the Earth has been locked by Jezzailin. It's the power of the galaxy. Start the fierce tide for me immediately. Panchen saw Jezzailin appear, and then immediately gave instructions to the operator. Teodi, who had been controlling the fierce tide and aiming at the giant gorge, pressed the launch button without hesitation at this moment. A red laser shot out directly from the small aircraft. The red laser that was emitted is the so-called fierce tide. It was pushing an antimatter bomb forward at sublight speed. Antimatter is a very special substance in the universe. When it comes into contact with the matter, it will produce a huge explosion. The energy generated by this explosion, even if it is only a very small part, can cause huge damage. At the moment, the fierce tide fired by this small launcher, the power of the antimatter bomb it carries, is a super weapon that can directly destroy a large city. It is not like a nuclear bomb, which relies on the nuclear radiation generated after the explosion to cause huge damage to a city. The radius of the antimatter bomb can completely cover a city. In other words, in the explosion of a nuclear bomb, if you find a special place, you may have a chance to escape. But if you are under the attack of this fierce tide, as long as you are within the range of the explosion, no matter where you hide, the result will be the same. Stop! Seeing the fierce tide start, Jezzailin shouted directly, and an invisible energy wave appeared on his body, and a force of cosmic rule suddenly appeared around him, crushing the small aircraft. The antimatter bomb that had been launched had its sublight speed propulsion ability cut off, leaving only a small antimatter bomb flying by inertia. Jezzailin knew very well that if this antimatter bomb fell on the Earth, the damage it would cause would be equally huge. So he almost did not hesitate to draw out the big sword behind him, summoned a burst of blue energy to cover the sword, and a transparent barrier appeared around his body. He was going to rush forward and smash the antimatter bomb with one sword. You can start remote treatment and protection. Lianfeng, make sure that Jezzailin has enough energy. Li Qingyun was inside the Black Great Wall, but he knew everything about Jezzailin's situation and what Jezzailin was going to do. Almost a moment he finished speaking, Yukon and Lianfeng were ready. In front of Jezzailin, there was already extremely abundant energy, and even a transparent defense barrier. This is different from the transparent shield that Jezzailin opened by himself, because this is a barrier created by Lianfeng's ability, which can resist conventional physical damage. The two barriers overlapped with each other, raising Jezzailin's defense to another level. Jezzailin did not hesitate at all, and the big sword emitting blue light directly chopped the antimatter bomb. In an instant, a strong light burst out from the contact point between the big sword and the antimatter bomb, and the huge energy explosion wave directly blasted Jezzailin, who was holding the big sword, away. His body was quickly bounced away like a kite with a broken string, and even his brain was blank in this shock. He lost consciousness and began to fall straight towards the Earth under the influence of the Earth's gravity. You can check Jezzailin's physical condition, Li Qingyun said. The outer layer of defense was completely destroyed, and the divine body was damaged to a certain extent, with a loss of more than 30% of energy. The powerful shock wave caused the super gene engine in his body to crash, and it is being remotely restarted. Yukon answered. Kang Wei, go over there right now and bring him back. Li Qingyun looked back at Du Kang Wei, who was not far away. Yes, Du Kang Wei agreed, and then immediately opened the wormhole and went directly to the area where Jezailan fell. When she saw Jezailan's unconscious figure falling, she immediately flew over and caught him in mid-air to prevent him from suffering secondary damage to his divine body due to such a high-speed fall. After catching Jezailan, Du Kang Wei immediately flew to the area where the Black Great Wall was located. Jezailan's divine body was very special. With Du Kang Wei's current ability, she could not directly transport it, so she could only fly back. Others, immediately enter the Mangdangshan. We are heading to space, Li Qingyun said. Since this Teodi Corps has already taken action, Li Qingyun will not be polite to them anymore. They are just a group of guys with aerospace-level technology, and they have only obtained some high-end weapons from the god of death Karl, but they dare to directly attack the Earth. If Li Qingyun can't wipe out all these invading guys, how can he claim to be the main god on the future? Joining the group can deter Morgana's demon army and other covetous forces. The soldiers of the Xiaongbing Company boarded the Mangdang Mountain without any hesitation. The first batch of soldiers equipped with black armor and energy weapons also entered the Mangdang Mountain and followed them to fight. This will be the first time that the soldiers on Earth will go to space and launch a space war with alien civilizations. Although on the Earth side, they only have one Mangdang Mountain, and the Teodi Legion has 50 large spaceships, but in the eyes of Li Qingyun and the people of the Xiaongbing Company, this battle will be their home court. In addition, the angels also participated in this battle. Angel Yan and the angels around her did not need Li Qingyun to explain anything, and they boarded the Mangdang Mountain directly. They are going to take the initiative to participate in this battle against the Teodi Legion. Chapter 266 Void Defense Barrier. King Shishi, the Earth has started to fight back. Panjin came to Shishi. The general attack on the Earth this time was led by Shishi himself, and Panjin was the frontline commander of this attack. About half of the more than 50 warships that launched the attack were directly under Panjin. It can be said that this was originally the army he led. Fight back. What will they use to fight back? Will they send a few super soldiers to fly over like before? Shishi turned around and looked at Panjin and asked. No, it seems that they also built a spaceship, which is as small as a cookie, Panjin replied. Earthlings actually built a spaceship? This is a bit surprising. Shishi walked to the window and looked at the blue planet in the distance. With only one spaceship, they dare to drive it into space. Are they going to die? In Shishi's view, even if the Earth has a spaceship, it is just a simple spaceship. Their Teodi Corps now has 6 or 7 flagships, and dozens of firepower ships. How much effect can a mere spaceship have in front of them? Give the order to let the 13th, 14th, and 15th teams immediately launch an attack. The purpose is to interfere with the opponent's spacecraft entering space. Let the Dark Raven, Flying Ball, and Dragon Wing prepare. As soon as the opponent's spacecraft enters space, immediately launch an attack and blow up the opponent's spacecraft directly. Shishi made arrangements, and Pan Shan went directly to arrange them. Afterwards, 3 teams and thousands of Teodi flew towards the direction where the Mangdangshan was rising. Inside the Mangdangshan, Li Qingyun was watching the dynamic changes on the virtual projection. These Teodi that were separated from the Teodi Corps and rushed over at a very fast speed were naturally discovered by him at the first time. How is Xiaolan's condition recovered? Li Qingyun looked at Yukon beside him. Almost recovered, Yukon replied. Tell him and Kang Wei to prepare. The first attacking force of the Teodi Corps will arrive soon. They are the only 2 in the Xiaongbing Company who have the ability to fly. They need to cover the Mangdangshan when the other party arrives, Li Qingyun said, and Jezailan in the infirmary soon received the relevant order. Isn't this a bit too much? Du Kang Wei looked at Jezailan who had just recovered at this time and asked doubtfully. With Monkey Brother not here, the 2 of us are the only air combat units. At this time, even if it is reluctant, we have to keep up, Jezailan said. Who said it's only you 2? Aren't we here too? Angel Xiaxin came forward. She and Du Kang Wei had some friendship. After all, they went to Fraser together and experienced 2 ambushes of the demon army. It is easiest to cultivate a firm friendship on the battlefield. 2 people who support each other will naturally improve their friendship quickly. Xiaxin, Du Kang Wei was moved when she saw Xiaxin coming. We angels and your Xiaongbing clan are now allies. We have all come to the Mangdangshan, so we naturally want to fight with you, Angel Xiaxin answered. and behind her, Angel Fangxing, Angel Leng, and Angel Yunyan also stood up. This time, the four of them will fight together with Du Qiangwei and Zhezailan to stop the Taoidi. At the same time, in the command room, Angel Yan and Angel Zhu had come to Li Qingyun's side. "When you fight, you should just arrange our angels in," Angel Yan said. She knew that Li Qingyun was being polite to her. When making combat arrangements, only the combat power of the Xiangbinglian should be considered, instead of taking the angels as their subordinates for granted. "You are allies, but not my subordinates. I don't have the power to command you." Li Qingyun was not just being polite, but because this was the truth. Angels are outsiders, and whether they take action should depend on their willingness, not their own demands. In war, mistakenly regarding external assistance as one's actual combat power is a fatal shortcoming. "I understand your idea, but since we are allies, we will naturally stand up when you need us," Angel Yan said. "You treat me like this, and I will naturally treat you like this in the future. Reciprocity is the virtue of my Chinese people for thousands of years." Li Qingyun smiled. "A normal person should understand that revenge must be paid and gratitude must be returned." "Commander, the enemy's vanguard has arrived and they are constantly attacking the Mangning Mountain," Lian Feng reported. "All weapon systems will immediately counterattack. Xiaolan, Qiangwei, you will attack immediately." Li Qingyun gave the order, and then all the weapon attack systems of the Mangning Mountain began to start. At the same time, Zhezailan, Du Qiangwei, Angel Zhixin and others all flew out of the Mangning Mountain and began to actively attack the approaching Taoidi. This aerial melee was launched directly, and the two sides fought with 1,000 times the number advantage. The outer armor of the Mangdangshan was made of dark iron alloy, and its sturdiness far exceeded the conventional firepower ship of the Taoidi. Therefore, the conventional weapons used by the Taoidi soldiers could not cause damage to it. Some powerful attack weapons would be detected by the Red Star system before they launched an attack, and then Du Qiangwei and others would go to destroy them. The 6 super soldiers faced thousands of Taoidi. The result of this battle was that the Mangdangshan still rose rapidly and entered the space according to the original plan. But as soon as it entered the space, 3 energy beams quickly shot towards the Mangdangshan. Perhaps, like Zhezailan blocking the fierce tide, he could stop one. Even with Li Qingyun, he could only stop 2, so the method Zhezailan used before was definitely inappropriate. "Void defense barrier activated," Li Qingyun said, and his words made Angel Yan, Angel Zhu and others stunned. "Void defense barrier, this technology has been equipped on the Mangdangshan?" But just when the angels were surprised and hesitant, Lian Fang had already started to operate it. With a supply of energy from the Mangdangshan, a huge blue barrier suddenly expanded outside the Mangdangshan. The attack launched by the 3 flagships of the Taoidi Legion directly hit the blue void barrier. The huge energy ripples spread out, forming circles of ripples on the barrier. But other than that, the entire defense barrier was not damaged at all. The Mangdangshan, which was protected in the middle, only shook a few times and was not affected at all. Chapter 267, Death Carl takes action. What kind of defense barrier is this? How can it even stop our attack? Shi stood up suddenly, feeling extremely shocked by what was happening before his eyes. Their Taoidi flagship also had a defense barrier, but their defense barrier was only a light barrier, and it could not defend against such a nuclear-level attack. After all, even if the light barrier could withstand it in terms of settings, the computing system of the flagship itself would directly collapse due to insufficient energy and inability to keep up with the computing speed when facing such a powerful attack. Any defense has its upper limit. Gather all the firepower and attack together, Shi said, but he still contacted the Death God Carl as soon as possible. For these people under his command, he had to use this method to boost morale. But in fact, he knew very well that in the face of technology that was truly beyond their understanding, the so-called saying that a large number of weapons could break through the defense was simply not true. Just like the space-time barrier used by the Skyblade series of the Angel Legion, their defense barrier is formed by covering itself with a special space algorithm. Therefore, all the energy of the attack on the space-time barrier will be directly transferred to other places. Even the energy of the attack will be directly absorbed by the barrier and converted into the energy consumed by the barrier itself. Therefore, facing such a situation, he can only ask for help from the God of Death Carl. In the eyes of Shi, the God of Death they believe in is the real most powerful God in the universe, and the technology he masters is also the most advanced in the universe. My God, Please guide me and crack it. She reported the situation to the god of death Karl, and then made his most sincere request. Did I ask Snow to tell you to withdraw all of you from the solar system? The god of death Karl replied. After all, he is the god of the TOD civilization and the belief of all the affiliated civilizations of the entire Dark Nebula. Therefore, the god of death Karl is often willing to accept the audience of the kings and high-level officials of these civilizations. In the original book, even the commander of the giant wolf star can personally meet the god of death Karl himself. As the king of the TOD civilization, Shi's status was naturally much higher than that of the commander of the giant wolf star. Therefore, he contacted the death god Karl, and the death god Karl was naturally willing to respond to him. The TOD army has gathered here on such a large scale. If they leave without a real decisive battle, I will not be willing, Shi replied. Well, since you have already launched an attack and the two sides have officially exchanged fire, I will help you this time. It's a good opportunity for me to see for myself how many void-level technologies the Earth has mastered now. After saying this, the death god Karl directly interrupted the communication. But at the same time, the communication channel of the big clock has begun to tilt towards the solar system. The death god Karl is observing this battle remotely with his own ability, and he will directly participate in the leadership of this war later. Void barrier. The observation of the big clock allowed the death god Karl to immediately obtain relevant data. Not only can it defend against void-like concept attacks, but it can also directly create void barriers. This god of chaos is really not an ordinary person. No wonder Morgana directly gave up the Earth and withdrew from the solar system. Death god Karl already had a rough answer in his mind. He knew that Shi and the more than 100,000 soldiers he led were bound to lose. But as he said, he also wanted to study and explore how many tricks Li Qingyun still had hidden, and to what extent the overall combat power of the Earth had developed. Therefore, he would still spare no effort to help Shi and help him fight this battle. This is a void barrier. I can help you temporarily crack a part of the area through algorithms so that your people can enter it, but it is impossible to completely close it. Death god Karl sent a message to Shi. As long as we can open the entrance, we have 100,000 troops, and there are only a few hundred people on the spaceship on Earth. We can definitely crush them, Shi said confidently. Go, fight the war you want to fight, Death Karl said, and at the same time, a gap was gradually opened on the void barrier of the Mangdangshan. Under the attack of the void algorithm, the void barrier was destroyed, and a flaw appeared on the periphery of the Mangdangshan. Lian Fang quickly reported the current situation. It's Death Karl. Li Qingyun was in the command room of the Mangdangshan, and he knew exactly what happened. Karl has a big clock in his hand, and the ability of the big clock is far beyond the Red Star series. It is basically impossible for us to completely resist its invasion, but the big clock is far away in the Dark Nebula, and the algorithm confrontation between celestial computers is ultimately limited. The support that Death Karl can provide to the devouring beast is at most to open a temporary channel in our defense barrier. Li Qingyun quickly analyzed the specific situation. The intention of Death god Karl should be to open this gap for the TOD core, and then let a large number of TOD warriors pass through this gap directly and enter the interior of the Mangdang Mountain to fight with us, Li Qingyun said. The number of TOD core is hundreds of times that of us. If their people really pour into the Mangdang Mountain, we are likely to be directly defeated, Lian Feng said. So, we must not let them enter the interior of the Mangdang Mountain. After Li Qingyun finished speaking, he turned and looked at the other soldiers of the Xiaongbing company. You don't have the ability to fly and fight directly in space, so I will open a wormhole to the interior of the TOD core spaceship for you. My combat mission for you is to destroy the spaceships you attack in the shortest time, Li Qingyun said. The super soldiers present now actually knew their respective tasks a long time ago, and they have already found partners with each other. Liu Chuang and Rui Mengmen, Suo Dun and He Weilan, Li Fifei and Chang Aowen, Zhao Xin and Zhao, these four people formed four assault teams. Their mission was to attack a spaceship each, with the ultimate goal of destroying it, and then continue to fight another one. As for Wei Ying and Qi Lin, they were snipers, and their role was to stay in the Mangdangshan. Li Qingyun had already provided them with sniper windows, which were similar to the gathering windows in the demon wings of the demon army. Their role was to open wormholes and directly snipe certain targets remotely. Based on the Red Star series that the Earth has now, it is completely possible to monitor the battlefield in real time and calculate the targets that need sniping the most. Yes, we will ensure the completion of the mission, Li Qingyun and others answered in unison, and then they all entered the combat position and began to teleport. Chapter 268, Numbers are meaningless in the face of strength. The entrance to the wormhole has been opened. Qilin, Wei Ying, please start sniping first to disrupt the enemy's defense layout. Li Qingyun's team, please enter wormhole number 1. Data analysis, the other side has 2 mecha warriors, please be careful. Lian Feng's voice fell, and Liu Chuang and Rui Mengmeng rushed directly into the wormhole. The other side of the wormhole is the Dark Raven. The appearance of Liu Chuang and Rui Mengmeng immediately attracted the attention of the Teodi soldiers in the Dark Raven. They quickly formed a defensive team and surrounded and attacked the area where the two were. They formed a lineup like the Teodi in the Hero Company that used to block Zhezialin and Zhaozin from invading the flagship, using shields to form a defense to block Liu Chuang and Rui Mengmeng from entering. However, the commander now is not the young man Zhezialin. Although only Liu Chuang and Rui Mengmeng entered, behind them is the Mangdangshan and the Red Star series. Wei Ying, use the god-killing crossbow to clear the way, Lian Feng said, and a micro-wormhole appeared above the heads of the Teodi. Wei Ying raised the crossbow in his hand, and a silver arrow immediately flew out, aiming directly at a row of soldiers who raised their shields. Puff, puff, puff. A silver arrow, 5 Teodi soldiers fell at the same time. Liu Chuang rushed forward without any hesitation. The battle axe in his hand showed a red light, and the power of the Noxing god of war was stimulated, and its overall destructive power rose rapidly at this moment. The Teodi behind him didn't have time to make up quickly, and was directly chopped to the ground by Liu Chuang's axe. Rui Mengmeng's movements were not slow at all, and she swung her sword and followed directly, knocking down some Teodi that Liu Chuang didn't have time to attack. As long as the opponent does not form an effective defensive formation and is not restricted by the terrain, the combat power that the super soldiers can exert is definitely much stronger than the soldiers like Teodi. Therefore, not only did Liu Chuang quickly break through the opponent's blockade, but the 3 teams of Suo Dun, Cheng Yaowen, and Zhaozin were also the same. 2 super soldiers who are good at close combat charged to fight, while Qilin and Wei Ying, 2 snipers, were ready to provide fire support at any time in the Mangdangshan. The attack power of the god-killing sniper rifle and the god-killing crossbow, under the adjustment of the wormhole, can bring great results every time they shoot. The Devouring King and the Dark Raven have been destroyed, the Flying Ball, the Dragon Wing, and the Qianlong have also been severely damaged, and the command system has been completely paralyzed. The Angels have also joined the battle. Together with the galaxy power and the space-time rose, they have directly built a defensive position outside the Mangdang Mountain. Our people have no way to get through. Even if some of them can occasionally enter the void barrier, they will be immediately shot and killed by the black armored soldiers on the opponent's deck. If this continues, I'm afraid that our 100,000 troops will be consumed in a short time, Panjin reported urgently. Now their Teodi corps has an absolute advantage in numbers, but the problem is that they are too far apart in strength. The Earth only needs to send out 2 super soldiers to directly suppress one of their spaceships. And they can kill everyone in this spaceship at a very fast speed, then destroy the spaceship and move to the next one. If this continues, it won't take long for the 50 spaceships to be completely destroyed under the attack of the Xiong Benglian. If the other side wants to send people into our spacecraft to attack, they must use wormholes, and the wormholes are controlled by the Mangdangshan behind the scenes. Shi also understood that in the face of absolute strength, numbers are meaningless. When their Teodi corps invaded the planets of pre-nuclear civilizations in the past, they often used hundreds of thousands of troops to destroy the other side's army of tens of millions of people and completely destroyed a planet with a population of billions. It can be seen that for civilizations with highly developed technology and highly concentrated resources, the so-called huge army of the lower civilization class is not threatening at all. All the Death God task forces assemble, you and me will attack the Mangdangshan directly, Shi said. And the so-called Death God task force he mentioned was actually a group of Teodi mecha troops that were transformed into machines by the Death God Karl. In the Teodi corps, there are only a few mecha warriors like this, but this minority is still a large number compared to the heroic troops on Earth. At least, there are 200 or 300 of them in their 100,000 strong army. In Shishi's opinion, ordinary Teodi soldiers cannot fight against super soldiers, but these Teodi mechas transformed by the god of death Karl have a combat power 10 times that of ordinary Teodi soldiers. So at least in terms of hard power, Teodimechus should be able to compete with super soldiers. In addition, he directly mobilized all the Teodimechus to act with him this time, and the combined combat power must be much stronger than usual. Now, even if the angels are included in the Earth, the total number of people is only about 20. If they collectively attack the Mangdang Mountain, they will definitely be able to directly cross the defense line they have established and enter the interior of the Mangdang Mountain. At that time, as long as the Mangdang Mountain is destroyed and all the opponent's combat deployment is disrupted, their 100,000-strong army may be able to play a real advantage in numbers. Soon, 200 Teodimechus have gathered together. Shishi appeared in the team in person, and flew directly towards the Mangdangshan with his Teodimechus. At almost the same time, more than a dozen firepower ships of the Teodi Corps on the left and right sides fired lasers in the direction of the Mangdangshan. Their goal was not to attack the Mangdangshan, but to open the way for Shishi and the so-called Death God Task Force. Facing these dozen lasers, Jezailan, Dukayangwei and the angels did not dare to directly resist. They could only retreat one after another. Then, Shishi led these Teodimechus and took advantage of this short gap to directly cross a distance of dozens of kilometers and approach the periphery of the Mangdangshan. The lasers quickly dissipated, and Dukayangwei immediately transferred to the gap in the defense barrier of the Mangdangshan through the wormhole, summoning the Dark Silver Dagger to attack Shishi. Shishi's target was the Mangdangshan, and he was unwilling to entangle with Dukayangwei at this time. He just waved his hand casually, and more than a dozen Teodimechus on the left and right sides flew out directly, blocking him. First, they knocked away the daggers, and then pounced on Dukayangwei together, fighting with her. At the same time, Jezailan, Angel Ling and others also reacted and began to gather here quickly. But more than 10 Teodimechus were also separated. They went straight to an angel in groups of 2. Their mission was not to kill these angels and Jezailan, but to hold them back so that they could not hinder the attack of the Shi King on the Mangdang Mountain. Chapter 269 Carl, your skills are transparent to me. Shishi's plan was feasible, and the Teodimechus were indeed capable of blocking the angels for a period of time. However, they ignored all the hidden combat power in the Mangdangshan. Angel Zhu, Angel Yunayan and several other angels who were originally following Angel Yan, rushed out of thin air at the moment when these Teodimechus were about to cross the gap and enter the Mangdangshan. Their sudden appearance just blocked Yi's way forward. In addition, what Shishi cared about most were the 2 people standing on the deck behind these angels. They were the legendary god of chaos Li Qingyun and the new angel King Yan. These were 2 real main god-level strongmen, the supreme commanders of the Earth and the Angel Corps, and their strength was definitely not comparable to that of ordinary super soldiers. Start the Void Engine, build a Void Suppression algorithm, and block the super gene abilities of all super soldiers. Shishi raised his right hand, and a ball of purple light appeared in his hand. Then, the light turned into a wave of light, covering all the angels in front. When the light wave came into contact with the angel's body, a purple energy immediately enveloped it, and the super gene in its body seemed to be affected. However, this effect only lasted for a short moment, and then disappeared immediately. In the bodies of these angels, a golden light was directly stimulated. This was the latest defense mechanism that was immediately researched by the heavenly base King Hexi after the last time Angel Yan returned from Earth. After Holy Kesha discovered that there was a void suppression method that could specifically target the super gene of their angels, it immediately asked the heavenly base King Hexi to be responsible for research. Its effect is not very great, but there is one thing, it can be immune to this void suppression. Humph. You actually want to use the void suppression trick, what a pity. Our Queen Kesha knew the situation a long time ago and prepared defense measures in advance. This trick of yours is useless to us, Angel Zhu snorted coldly. She only now understood how useful the warning that Li Qingyun gave to Angel Yan was. If they hadn't known it in advance and prepared a defense mechanism in advance, they would have lost their strength when they were hit by the energy just now, and fainted directly like Angel Yan did at that time. How is this possible? She was completely stunned. This was the latest technology developed by the Death God Carl, a technology specifically used to target angels and super soldiers. How could it be cracked so easily? Nothing is impossible. Li Qingyun's voice came from behind him, but what he was looking at was not Shishi, but the space not far behind Shishi. Carl, do you think the technology you have developed is really the most advanced in the universe? But I have already seen through your technology, Li Qingyun said, and his words made the Death God Carl, who was far away in the dark nebula, frown. Teo di Mecha? I know them very well. Li Qingyun raised his right hand suddenly, and a ball of red light suddenly emanated from his hand, and then directly covered Shishi and his Death God task force. The moment the red light touched them, their mechas directly lost power, and the parts on their bodies were disassembled one by one, completely turning into a pile of parts. The appearance of this scene made General Panchen, who was watching all this from a distance, completely dumbfounded. It also made the face of the Death God Karl, who was observing the battlefield remotely in the Death Song Academy, even more serious. Even if you have studied me, you can't know my technology so well, unless you have hacked into my database. The virtual projection of the Death God Karl appeared in space, appearing on the periphery of the Mangdangshan. But I am sure that so far, no one has hacked into my communication channel, let alone directly read the contents of my database. The Death God Karl has the greatest celestial computer known in the known universe, the Great Clock. Even when the Holy Kesha was still alive, she could not read any information that the Death God Karl did not want to give Kesha. Therefore, he would not believe that Li Qingyun has the ability to hack into his database. I have indeed not hacked into your communication channel, nor have I read your database, but I do know your situation very well. Li Qingyun grew up relying on the Great Clock, and that was the Great Clock after the Death God Karl developed the Black Hole Engine and upgraded the 4 Horsemen of the Void. In other words, Li Qingyun knew all the technologies developed by Death God Karl before Shangbing Lian San. Even now, in Li Qingyun's body, there is the most advanced Black Hole Engine developed by Death God Karl. No, it is no longer a Black Hole Engine. After Li Qingyun took the Void Controller, the 4 powerful abilities of Anti-Void, Black Hole Engine, Ether Particles, and Chaos Magic were completely combined to create the latest Void Controller time. Therefore, the Super Gene Engine that Li Qingyun now possesses is already much more advanced than the Black Hole Engine. Since you haven't done these, how can you know so much about my situation? Death God Karl was full of doubts at this time. After he studied the truth of the Void, he thought that there was nothing in the world that he didn't understand, and there was no one that he couldn't see through. But at this moment, Death God Karl felt that when he faced Li Qingyun, he seemed to be facing a huge mystery. Just guess it yourself, use your smart brain to think about what kind of existence I am. Li Qingyun would not tell the secret directly. He wanted the Death God Karl to think hard, but in the end he could not get any answer. But you don't have much time, Li Qingyun said, and then waved his hand casually, and a void force was released directly from his hand, dispersing the virtual projection of the Death God Karl. Even the dark communication he projected into the solar system and his spying on the entire battlefield with a big clock were all cut off. In this wave of his hand, Li Qingyun actually expelled the power of the Death God Karl from the solar system. At this moment, the Death God Karl, who was far away in the dark nebula, felt like being struck by lightning. The fear that he had not felt for thousands of years was deeply imprinted in his mind, making him, the Death God who had lost his desires and emotions, unable to calm down for a long time. Li Qingyun's ability and his understanding of himself were completely beyond his understanding. Some people say that each of my chapters is too short. I am considering combining the 2 chapters updated every day into one. What do you think? Chapter 270 The Demon King's Attitude. What methods did you just use? Angel Yan was also shocked at this time. She knew that Li Qingyun was very powerful, but she didn't expect that Li Qingyun could be so powerful. Expelling the God of Death Karl with a wave of his hand, this is something that even their Angel Queen, Holy Kesha, can't do. Anti-Void power, Li Qingyun replied with a smile. Anti-Void? The one with the power of the galaxy. Angel Yan turned his head suddenly and looked at Jezai Alan, who was chasing the Teodi on the periphery. Yes, the one with the power of the galaxy. After Li Qingyun finished speaking, he turned around and returned to the Mangdangshan. He didn't need to take action in the next battle. The devouring wolves were dead, and they also took away a batch of Teodi mechas. Although there are many Teodi left now, there are no Teodi that can compete with the super soldiers. With the support of the Mangdangshan, Lian Feng was in charge of the command, which was enough to clean up everything that came next. Although the war will last for a long time, the outcome has already been determined. In order to give the members of the Xiangbinglian more opportunities to gain experience, Li Qingyun directly asked Qilin to kill Panchen, who was in charge of the command in the back. The 2 commanders of the TOD were all killed, and Zai Ocean, who was far behind, had already been cut off from the communication link here. These 100,000 Teoti are already in a blind stage of fighting on their own. They can only be commanded by the captains of each fleet, and these captains cannot communicate with each other, and will slowly fall into a dilemma. At the same time, in a certain area outside the solar system, a huge celestial spaceship with a pair of black wings is slowly moving. Queen, we just got intelligence that the Teoti Legion has mobilized 100,000 troops to start a decisive battle with the Xiangbinglian of the Earth. Achuo came behind Morgana and reported the latest intelligence to her. No need to think, it must be that the Teoti lost. Morgana knew Li Qingyun's strength. The confrontation in the air at that time made her clearly feel Li Qingyun's strength. Now the Earth Hero Company is still with Angel Yan and the other 9 angels, and its overall combat power is even stronger than before. It is certain that they will lose, but the one who deserves the most attention this time is the Death God Karl. Now, Morgana began to be interested. If it was just the Teoti Corps, it would be natural for them to lose. But if Karl also took action, then this battle would be worth watching. According to the intelligence we investigated, the Death God Karl did help the Teoti, and even showed up in person in the end. What was the result? Morgana just wanted to know what the result was after the Death God Karl took action. The Devouring King was killed, Karl was expelled, Achuo was explaining, but Morgana waved his hand to interrupt him halfway through his words. Because Morgana had received the communication request from the Death God Karl. Go down, Morgana said, then turned around and walked towards her garden. During this time, she connected to Karl's communication. Why, I heard that you were defeated on Earth. Morgana was not polite when talking to the Death God Karl. The 100,000 strong Teoti army was completely defeated, Shishi died in the battle, and the entire Teoti army withdrew from the solar system. This is more than just a defeat. The tone of the Death God Karl was flat, but he had confirmed the information reported by Achuo before. I also heard that you were expelled by Li Qingyun, Morgana asked. He used some anti-void means to completely expel the communication of my big clock from the solar system. The algorithm is so sophisticated that it is far beyond the level that the big clock can suppress by quantity alone. The Death God Karl did not hide it at all. He was indeed expelled, and after being expelled, it was impossible to go back. The computing power of the big clock is definitely the strongest in the entire universe, but the big clock cannot stop Li Qingyun's expulsion of it, so that the communication cannot enter the solar system. This shows that the other party is more advanced in algorithm. It is more advanced than the algorithm you have mastered, which means that Li Qingyun's research on the void is deeper than yours, Morgana said. She had actually thought of this as early as when Li Qingyun took the blow of the quasi-void concept. However, she was not sure at that time, and now the experience of the Death God Karl has proved this point. No matter what the reason is, he obviously really did it. Death God Karl did not refute. On the contrary, he hoped that Morgana would understand this, because he was going to use this as an excuse to persuade Morgana to join forces with him again. Li Qingyun's strength is beyond our control. If he unites with Mellow Heaven, a new king of the gods will be born. Liang Bing, aren't you afraid that he will become the second Holy Kisha? Death God Karl asked. If he wanted Morgana to agree to the alliance, he had to let Morgana know how dangerous Li Qingyun was. In Morgana's heart, the biggest enemy was Holy Kisha, so it was natural to use Kisha as a comparison. He is not the second Holy Kisha. He will become a more difficult existence than Holy Kisha. Morgana knew that Death God Karl was deliberately provoking her. But she actually realized the horror of Li Qingyun earlier than Death God Karl. When they first met, she saw that he had the 4th generation of divine body. When they met again for the second time, she gathered the power of the entire demon number 1 to launch a war against him. The third time was just to stare at each other from a distance. Every time they met, Li Qingyun's strength in front of her would be much stronger than the last time, and the power and ability he possessed were all unknown to Morgana. I know you want me to join forces with you to deal with Li Qingyun again like you did with Keisha, but I can tell you clearly that your plan will not succeed. Morgana expressed her attitude. Li Qingyun will be stronger than Holy Keisha, but his attitude towards me is different from Keisha's. He is not my enemy. Since he is not my enemy, why should I join forces with you when I know I will lose? You should think of other ways yourself. I just want to do what I want to do quietly now. After saying this, Morgana directly cut off the communication with the god of death Karl. Her greatest wish has been realized, and Holy Keisha has fallen. Although the time and space rose has not returned to her, at least the time and space rose is growing as she imagined. and Li Qingyun is likely to point out a new development direction for the time and space rose. Therefore, Morgana is unwilling to conflict with Li Qingyun again. As for the conflict between the god of death Carl and Li Qingyun, she only hopes that it will continue. This will make the two powerful guys trapped in the stage of internal fighting, which will not really threaten herself. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 271. Let's go to Mellow Heaven. The war is over. The Teoti core has been completely expelled from the solar system. More than half of the 100,000 Teoti fighting against them were killed in one go, and all 50 warships were destroyed. The strength shown by Li Qingyun this time, as well as the battle shown by Xiangbinglian this time, have made the entire universe clearly see how powerful the Earth is now. In the following period of time, Li Qingyun upgraded Jezzailin with a void controller, which was completely imitated from Li Qingyun's void controller. Because there are no special things such as chaos magic and ether particles in Jezzailin body, all Jezzailin can get is a void controller. However, this void controller is much more powerful than the one he created with Xianxin in the original book. Moreover, Li Qingyun had directly created the Red Star series, Celestial Computers, and the Red Star number 3 was exclusively for Jezzailin. With the support of the Red Star II computing system and the information uploaded by Li Qingyun in the Red Star series, Jezzailin can learn and master many things about the void controller better and faster. At the same time, the defense system of the entire solar system also began to be arranged online. As for global unification, Li Qingyun is too familiar with it. When he was in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he not only unified the thoughts of the Earth, but also unified dozens of life planets at once. Now the Earth has not been invaded by the Teoti Legion, but the Demon Legion has also made a lot of noise in the Western world. In fact, all countries in the world understand the situation facing the Earth now. Therefore, Li Qingyun showed them his own strength, which was enough for them to understand what to choose next. Now that the development of the entire Earth has been put on the right track, I should go back to the Mellow Heaven. Angel Yan stood on the corridor of the villa, looking at the mountains and rivers in the distance. They have been on Earth for several months. The invasion of the Teoti core has been repelled, and even the Lianhuan solar system defense system has been put online. The safety of the Earth can be said to have been greatly strengthened. But the current situation of the Angel Core is not optimistic. In the current Mellow Heaven, there is the Heavenly King Hexi guarding it. Although there is no major chaos, the fall of the Holy Kesha will definitely bring a great impact to the entire Mellow Heaven. Angel Yan is the new angel commander of the Angel Corps designated by Holy Kesha, so she must go back to Mellow Heaven to truly take over the command of the Angel Corps. Wait 2 more weeks. Li Qingyun was next to Angel Yan at this time. After a few months of getting along, the relationship between the two of them has also been greatly improved. Wait 2 weeks? Why wait 2 weeks? Angel Yan looked at Li Qingyun with some doubts. In another 2 weeks, the solar system defense system will be fully online. And by then Monkey Brother will have returned, and I can go to Mellow Heaven with you with more confidence. You want to go to Mellow Heaven with me? Angel Yan was shocked. Although the relationship between them is much closer than before, it still looks like ordinary friends. Suddenly, Li Qingyun said that he wanted to go to Mellow Heaven with her. This was too unexpected. Yet, you won't be unwelcome, right? Li Qingyun asked with a smile. The real purpose of his going to Mellow Heaven was naturally to go to Xianji King Hexi. He wanted to recruit Xianji King Hexi as his technical consultant for a long time. When he met with Holy Kesha, he asked Kesha to introduce him to Xianji King Hexi. Although Holy Kesha said at the time that he should respect Hexi's own wishes, there must have been some arrangements. Therefore, he had to go to Mellow Heaven to see if he could draw this top technology god who was good at research to his side. Even though he is now the god of chaos, Li Qingyun still hopes that there will be such a person around him. If you want to go, then I welcome you. Angel Yan had already fallen in love with this powerful and unfathomable god of chaos without realizing it. If Li Qingyun could go to Mellow Heaven with her, she could take this opportunity to get along with Li Qingyun. After all, during the time they stayed on Earth, there was always someone between them, the super soldier named Killen from the Hero Company. In that case, is it okay to wait for another 2 weeks? Li Qingyun asked again. Okay, Angel Yan agreed decisively. As long as Li Qingyun was willing to go to mellow heaven with her, let alone wait for 2 weeks, even if it was 2 months, she would think it was worth it. Then, you continue to rest here first. I have to make some arrangements for what will happen after I leave. Since Li Qingyun has decided to go to mellow heaven, he will naturally not come back in a short time, so some things still need to be arranged in advance. For example, the subsequent construction of the solar system defense system, and the later arrangements for the soldiers of the hero company. In addition, there is also Rena's situation, which needs to be understood. After all, she was once the captain of the hero's company and was captured by the demon army on Earth. They couldn't just ignore Rena. Finally, there was Qilin. She had confessed to Li Qingyun long before the war with the demon army. In recent months, Angel Yan had intentionally or unintentionally revealed her intention to seduce Li Qingyun, which made Qilin extremely vigilant. If Li Qingyun didn't tell her in advance about going to mellow heaven with Angel Yan this time, she might have suspected that Li Qingyun was seduced. However, Li Qingyun still thought the problem was too simple. He thought that as long as he explained it clearly to Qilin, Qilin would understand, but the result was that Qilin decided to go with Li Qingyun. And this attitude was extremely firm. Even if Li Qingyun said that the Earth now needed more super soldiers to protect it, she insisted on going with him. This kind of unreasonable behavior has never happened to Qilin in the original book. The key is that this time, all the other people in the hero's company chose to support it. Even Lang Feng and Yukon thought that Qilin should go with him. Li Qingyun naturally understood what they meant. They were afraid that he would really be kidnapped by Angel Yan, so they let Qilin go with them to keep Li Qingyun's heart. Chapter 272, Sumerli is targeted. Soon, Sun Wukong came back. He and Su Xiaoli went to Proxima for several months and finally completed the collection of dark iron elements. Now they are back with a large amount of dark iron elements, and Proxima is willing to establish diplomatic relations with them. With these dark iron elements, the Earth can create more black armored warriors, and the overall combat power can be further strengthened. The most important thing is that with Sun Wukong, he can take charge of the overall situation. Even if something happens on Earth, it will not be in a panic all of a sudden. In addition, Dukeo should wake up soon. At the beginning, he was attacked by the God Killer #1 bullet, and his life was saved with the emergency rescue of Yukon. Now, after such a long time of super gene rematching, coupled with the full launch of the Red Star series, the matching speed has also been accelerated. Therefore, Dukeo will be able to fully recover in a short time. Are you really determined to go to mellow heaven? Sun Wukong and Li Qingyun were sitting on the sofa in the living room at this time, drinking the beer in front of them. There's a person in mellow heaven who means a lot to me. I have to try to see if I can get her to help me. Li Qingyun did not hide his true intentions from Sun Wukong. There is a person? Isn't it Angel Yan? Angel Yan is interested in Li Qingyun, and everyone in the Xiaongbing company knows it, but Angel Yan is now on Earth, and she took the initiative to throw herself into his arms, so there is no need for Li Qingyun to look for her specifically. Love is interesting, but how can it be the whole of life? Li Qingyun said with a smile. That's right, a man has many things that are more important than love. Sun Wukong is now in the stage of love. After all, there is Su Xiaoli who has been entangled with him. But in Sun Wukong's heart, protecting the Earth is more important. Fortunately, Su Xiaoli is not the kind of unreasonable person. When she is with him, she will also fulfill her duties and handle her work well, so the two will not have too many conflicts when getting along. Since this person means so much to you, you should go there. However, it is not appropriate for you and Qilin to go alone. Sun Wukong understood Li Qingyun's intention and would not stop him from going. However, he still had some concerns. After all, it was a strange place. Even if the angels were allies with him, who could be sure that they had no ulterior motives? Although the Tod and the demons have been driven out of the solar system, the Earth is not an iron bucket now. We still need to have enough manpower and combat power to stay, Li Qingyun said, and almost at this moment, he thought of someone. A potential crisis hidden on the Earth. I understand, I don't plan to mobilize a large group of people to go with you, but you have to bring at least 1 or 2 more helpers. Sun Wukong took Su Xiaoli with him when he went to Proxima Centauri. How could Li Qingyun know Qilin when he went to a place like Mellow Heaven? Then let Thornton and Reyna go with me. Li Qingyun knew that Sun Wukong would be worried if he really didn't take them alone. Moreover, the two he brought were both restless. Thornton was originally created by the death god Karl. He was willing to help in the Xiangbinglian team because he was tamed by Li Qingyun. But if he left Li Qingyun, he might return to his nature. It would be embarrassing if he wanted to eat human flesh. As for Reina, did you find Reina? Sun Wukong asked. According to the news from the Ring Solar System Defense System, Reina has been abandoned by Teodi on a construction platform of the Ring Solar System Defense System. Her divine body has been damaged to a certain extent and needs energy to recover, Li Qingyun said. Reina is really suffering this time, Sun Wukong sighed. In the Battle of the Giant Canyon, although they had tried their best to protect Reina was still controlled by the demon army and then captured by the death god Karl. Although she was not tortured like in the animation, this time, she was captured by the death god Karl himself, which is different from being captured by Teodi. It was still a huge blow to Reina. Moreover, if the death god Karl took action personally, he might do something more serious, such as taking away the genetic data about the sunlight from Reina. It is no secret that the death god Karl wants to obtain the genetic data of the sunlight to create a new god who can control stars. It's just that at the beginning of the original book, the death god Karl didn't want to offend Pangen too much, so he didn't directly participate. But the situation now is completely different. Because of Li Qingyun, the death god Karl has already taken action himself. Since he has taken action, many things don't have to be sneaky and restrained. Her mood is not very stable now. I will take her to the universe to relax her mood. At the same time, it can also let her further understand the truth of the entire universe. It is actually good for her growth, Li Qingyun said. Okay, Sun Wukong agreed. Take someone to pick her up now, and let her reunite with the other soldiers of the Xiangbing company. Next, I have to go to the west to solve a small problem. When Li Qingyun said this, he turned and looked to the west, looking at a city on the other side of the earth. Trouble on the earth. Sun Wukong didn't know much about the situation. I caught a prisoner who was exiled here more than 10,000 years ago, and it can be regarded as a gift to him, Li Qingyun smiled. The person he was going to find was the so-called ancient butcher god Sumerli. There was some special emotional entanglement between this Sumerli and Hizai, or it could be said that it was some entanglement from the past 20,000 to 30,000 years. Li Qingyun originally felt that it was a bit abrupt to go to Hizai, but now, if he could bring Sumerli with him, it might not seem so abrupt. As for whether Hizai would directly kill him or continue to show mercy to him after the two met, it had little to do with Li Qingyun. He just needed to make sure that Hizai could communicate with him normally at that time. But maybe it would be more appropriate to just kill him. This thought flashed through Li Qingyun's mind. He was still a little hesitant between catching Sumerli and killing him. It's just a little trouble anyway, you can handle it yourself. I have to go pick up Reina first. After Sun Wukong finished speaking, he flew directly into the air. He went to the Black Great Wall base and took a spaceship to space. At this time, Li Qingyun directly summoned Thornton. He decided to let Thornton do it. Chapter 273 Just kill him. In a famous scenic spot in Switzerland, in a luxurious villa, Sumerli was sitting with his legs crossed, tasting the most premium red wine. This ancient butcher god who was exiled by the Merlot heavenly court still lived a carefree life. However, this good life is finally over. A micro-wormhole suddenly appeared not far in front of Sumerli, and Li Qingyun walked out of it with Sutton. You guys, seeing that it was Li Qingyun who came out, Sumerli's face changed immediately. Although he has been unknown for these years, he still knows exactly what is happening on Earth now. Some time ago, Holy Kesha was killed by Morgana and the god of death Karl. It was thought that the entire Earth would fall into chaos, and maybe the opportunity for them, the male angels, to make a comeback would come. But who would have thought that in the blink of an eye, the forces inside the earth would rise? The Xiangbinglian developed suddenly in a short period of time. Not only did they drive away the Demon Legion and the Teodi Legion, but they also shocked the death god Karl. The most important thing is that the Chaos god who suddenly arrived in front of him directly led the entire earth into the real era of god-making. The Solar System Defense System, the Global Military Alliance, the Xiangbinglian, the Black Armor Company, the Black Great Wall, and other various plans have been introduced. The entire Earth was still a pre-nuclear civilization more than a year ago, but now it has become a main god civilization in the blink of an eye. Li Qingyun, the Chaos god, is already a real main god who can block other gods from the Earth. Their army can also defeat the main god civilization of other civilizations' powerful fleets in space. Originally, Sumali thought that as long as he was law-abiding and stayed here steadily, there would be no problem, but now Li Qingyun suddenly came, and I'm afraid he is not here to communicate with him. Ancient God Killer Sumali, you have a very famous title. Li Qingyun looked at Sumali, and with his eyes of insight, he could see through all the information about the other party. He was very famous in ancient times. He was once the angel army assembled thousands of angels to encircle and suppress him. In the end, it was the Xianji King Hexi who had to personally take action to subdue him. But in fact, this Sumali is just an ordinary god body. Although the scale of dark energy is quite large, it can only be regarded as a third-generation super soldier, not even a third-generation god body. After all, it was 30,000 years ago. At that time, second-generation super soldiers were rare, let alone third-generation god bodies. Therefore, simply from the perspective of hard power, angel warriors with third-generation god bodies like Angel Zixin can directly beat Sumali. It's just that Sumali still has a dark silver dagger in his hand, which greatly improves his overall combat effectiveness. In the original work, he was able to kill Angel Yunai when he first appeared, and he was also able to suppress Zhao Xin later. But when he met the Angel Zixin, the sacred right-wing guard, he knelt down directly, and knelt very quickly. I'll give you a chance. You fight with Sudden. If you can win, I will let you go, Li Qingyun said. I haven't said a word, and you want to decide my life or death. Sumali finally spoke at this time, because he found that if he didn't speak again, he was afraid that he would not have the opportunity to speak in the future. You are a scum with ulterior motives. Staying in my territory, I naturally have the right to decide your life or death, Li Qingyun said. During the time when he led the rise of the earth, Sumali had plenty of time to leave on his own, but he didn't, but chose to stay on the earth and wait and see. But why did he do this? Isn't it because he has some other ideas in his heart? For example, secretly investigating where the genetic backup of the galaxy power is placed, and then trying to find it. I was just exiled here, and I didn't come here on purpose. Sumali explained that he was trying to get a chance to leave by explaining his purpose of coming here. How did you get here? I don't care. I only know that you only have this one chance to survive now, Li Qingyun said, and then waved his hand casually, signaling Thornton to take action. Thornton was not big, and directly summoned two axes and rushed towards Sumali. Sumali wanted to argue again, but he had to avoid Thornton's attack. He turned over and jumped up from the sofa where he was sitting. In mid-air, a pair of white wings spread out, and a set of armor like that of European warriors in the old times appeared on his body. At the same time, a black dagger appeared in his hand. The dark silver dagger, made of dark silver, is a top-level weapon with extremely strong lethality for super soldiers. Tisk, it's another Birdman, Thornton snorted coldly, and swung his right hand violently. A battle axe was thrown out from his hand and cut towards the position where Sumali was. Sumali looked at the battle axe with a red glow, knowing that the power of this axe was definitely extraordinary, so he naturally did not dare to take it head-on. He could only go through the wormhole and quickly adjust his position. Under his control, the dark silver dagger began to stab towards Thornton's chest. Ling. The dark silver dagger landed on Thornton's chest, and sparks flashed on the armor on it, but it did not penetrate it at once as Sumali predicted. How is this possible? Sumali was shocked. This is a dark silver dagger specially designed to deal with super soldiers. Even the armor of the angels in the Mellow Heaven Court is as vulnerable as tofu in front of it. Even the body of the third-generation super soldier can be easily cut. How come it is useless in front of Thornton? Thornton is the ultimate beast body. The solidity of his body is stronger than that of the general third-generation god body. The armor on his body is the dark alloy armor that I remade with dark iron elements. Although Sumali's dark silver dagger is strong, it is impossible to pierce it easily. Li Qingyun looked at everything happening in front of him and had already understood the situation. Throughout the entire Super Seminary, in all the plots so far, there have been only two ultimate beasts that have appeared. One is the fighting Buddha Sun Wukong, and the other is the crocodile god Sudden. Although Sudden is far inferior to Sun Wukong in terms of combat power, Sudden is definitely top-notch in terms of the defense level of the divine body. Liu Chuang was able to split the two axes in his hands with one axe with a god-killing axe, but failed to cause any damage to his body. This is the best proof. Please refer to the Super Seminary Animation Season 3, God vs. God. Chapter 274, Die already? What kind of monster is this? Sumali didn't know the details of Sultan. He only knew that his invincible dark silver dagger was ineffective this time. You Birdman, you are much worse than the Angel Sisters, Sultan was also complaining. He once had a fierce battle with the Angels who, and the final result was that he was killed by Ozu with the Skyblade Judgment. Later, he followed Li Qingyun and fought with the Angels for a long time. He admired the Angels more and more. So, when he met Sumali again, he felt that Sumali was a silver-plated spearhead. He looked like an angel, but in fact, except for the dagger, he seemed to have no fighting power. Even the level of close combat was not as good as that of Angels Hu and Angels Hickson. I am the ancient butcher god. I can beat 1,000 of those angels you mentioned. Sumali was also furious. He directly grasped the dark silver dagger and rushed towards Sultan. Sultan was waiting to fight Sumali head-on. Seeing Sumali rushing up, he immediately clenched his double axes and rushed towards Sumali. He swung his double axes forward. Sumali originally rushed forward out of anger, but seeing Thornton's aggressive look, he subconsciously chose to block. The dark silver dagger blocked in front of him. Although the speed of the double axes falling was extremely fast and powerful, Sumali still managed to block them. However, Thornton's attack was just the beginning. He then turned and chopped Sumali with his double axes one after another. Sumali's strength was not as strong as Thornton's. He just defended blindly, and the result was that his entire strength was completely dispersed. Under the continuous attack of Thornton's double axes, he was directly chopped to the ground, and even the dark silver dagger in his hand fell out of his hand and fell to the ground beside him. Humph! Soft-footed shrimp, Thornton snorted coldly and kicked hard with his right foot. This kick knocked Sumali directly to the ground and sank directly into the floor below. Sumali, who was exhausted, had no ability to resist. He lay in the pit and could only struggle painfully for a few times. Thornton raised his huge palm and grabbed Sumali's neck, then pinched his throat fiercely and lifted him up in the air. As the strength continued to increase, Sumali began to struggle painfully and even wanted to beg for mercy. However, his throat was pinched tightly and he couldn't speak at all. His struggle was meaningless to Thornton, whose body was much larger than that of an ordinary human. Crack! As the sound came, Sumali's struggle stopped completely, and the whole person softened directly, losing all traces of life. You want to use the trick of faking death to trick me again? Thornton looked at Sumali, who was no longer struggling, but he had no intention of letting go. He remembered that when he was fighting with Angel Chase before, he also grabbed Angel Chase's waist with one hand and broke it directly. I thought Angel Hu was dead, but in a blink of an eye, Angel Hu came back to life, and flew into the sky with his backhand, and blew him into powder with a move of Skyblade Judgment. Therefore, Thornton did not believe Sumali's current state, and he thought that Sumali was pretending to be dead. No, I have to give you 2 more slashes, Thornton said, and summoned the battle axe with his left hand again, and chopped it directly on Sumali's head. But this time, Sumali did not dodge again, and his head was chopped off directly under this axe. Who died so soon? Thornton felt a little incredible. If Sumali was pretending to be dead at that time, he would definitely take some action when his head was chopped off, but the result was that Sumali did not move, which could only mean that he was dead before he chopped his head. Is this guy so vulnerable to beating? Thornton felt a little disappointed. Angel Hu has an invincible body, so she can wake up immediately after being killed by you, but this person does not have an invincible body. Li Qingyun walked up. He naturally knew what was in Thornton's mind. Invincible body. The invincible body can't be killed, right? Thornton threw Sumali to the ground casually, and shook his hands in disdain to shake off the blood on it. At least conventional attacks can't kill him, but if you cut off his head, unless you have a 4th-generation divine body or a sacred body, you will die. Li Qingyun had actually studied this invincible body a long time ago. He is a special divine body. The life of his divine body comes from the core of the super gene engine. As long as the core is not destroyed, the divine body can recover quickly even if it suffers serious injuries. Even if the heart is pierced or the brain is smashed, the core of the super gene engine is still there, and it can quickly recover. But the divine body has its limit. The invincible body can survive after being pierced through the heart by the god-killing weapon, the flame-level weapon, or even the void weapon, but if the divine body is directly cut open, it will still die. Because once it is cut, it is equivalent to being out of the control range of the super gene engine core, and its recovery ability cannot be activated, so it will die naturally. Therefore, If you want to survive after being beheaded, you can only upgrade to the 4th generation divine body or the sacred body. The 4th generation divine body and the sacred body can already locate each other's atoms, and the set form of the super gene code is recorded in its dark matter plane. Through the mutual positioning between atoms, it can quickly restore to the set appearance after the divine body is divided. Therefore, the 4th generation divine body cannot be killed by cutting. Even if it is blown to pieces, it can still come back to life. The power of the sacred body in this regard is even stronger. That is, even if it is blown into atomic powder, it can still recover. Therefore, there are only 2 ways to really kill the owner of the 4th generation divine body and the sacred body. One is to directly destroy its super gene code and erase the data and traces of its super gene from the source. In this way, no matter what kind of divine body the other party has, it will be killed. However, the super gene code is usually stored in the core of life. Even if it is just an ordinary super soldier, it is difficult to directly destroy its super gene itself, not to mention those top-level strongmen with 4th generation or higher divine bodies. In addition to erasing the super gene, another method is the trick used by the death god Karl and the demon king Morgana on the holy Kisha. Completely shatter its divine body through a supernova, and then use the big clock to scatter its atoms to the corners of the entire known universe, making it impossible to relocate, or even if it can be located, it cannot be restored in a short time. In addition, the effect of destroying the 4th generation divine body with a black hole is similar to this. However, the gods killed in this way are not really dead in a sense. Chapter 275 Heavenly Palace Wang Huai. Sumali was dead, and Li Qingyun took Sultan back to the Black Great Wall. Afterwards, they gathered with the angels and entered a small spaceship. Originally, with the abilities of the angels, they did not need a spaceship, and Li Qingyun could fly in the air. But Sultan, Reina and Qilin could not do that. The 3 of them did not have the ability to fly alone. If they were always led by someone, it would not be very convenient to fly in the universe. Actually, you don't have to go with me. If you stay on Earth, you can help take care of the situation here. Why waste time going there? Angel Yan looked at Qilin, Reina and Sultan in the spaceship, but he was mainly looking at Qilin. It's enough for us to have Monkey Brother and Xiaolin on Earth. Qilin naturally knew what Angel Yan meant by saying this, but she just couldn't let Li Qingyun go to Mellow Heaven alone, especially she couldn't let Li Qingyun go with Angel Yan. Angel Yan originally liked Li Qingyun. If Angel Yan really found an opportunity to be alone with Li Qingyun, then it was unknown what would happen to the 2 of them. Qilin couldn't just give up such a good man like Li Qingyun. It's up to you, it doesn't make much difference anyway. Angel Yan didn't argue with Qilin. Let's go, we'll set off for Mellow Heaven now, Li Qingyun urged. Seeing this, Angel Yan didn't say anything more, and directly asked the angel Zixin who is responsible for driving the spaceship to prepare for takeoff. As the engine of the spaceship started, the spaceship immediately took off, and the angels Zhu, Angel Leng, Angel Moi and others outside the spaceship also spread their wings together. In this way, they flew directly into space, and then after entering space, they opened the wormhole directly and flew towards the Angel Nebula where Mellow Heaven was located. They finally set off. Sun Wukong and others stood in the square, looking at Li Qingyun and others who had disappeared in the sky. This time they went to Mellow Heaven, and I don't know if it will be a good thing in the end. Du Qiangwei sighed. She was still worried in her heart. After all, this time it was their Earth's main god, the god of chaos Li Qingyun who went to Mellow Heaven in person, and he only brought 2 people with him. With Lali's ability, no matter which planet he lands on, he will be safe, Sun Wukong said, and he already felt that he had the ability to deal with all the troubles. In Sun Wukong's cognition, Li Qingyun's strength was even stronger than his. What we really need to worry about now is the interior of the Earth. Sun Wukong turned around and looked at the other super soldiers of the Xiaongbing company behind him. Just 2 days ago, Lao Li found a man named Sumerli on Earth. Judging from the data recorded in the Red Star series, he is at least at the level of a 3rd-generation super soldier, and he has a dark silver dagger in his hand that can specifically target super soldiers. If Lao Li hadn't discovered it in time, he might have caused some big trouble somewhere we don't know. Therefore, even though we have now completed the construction of the solar system defense system and have the support of the celestial level computing system of the Red Star series on Earth, we still cannot take it lightly. Sun Wukong is now tasked with guiding the Earth. This is a special instruction from Li Qingyun to him. He can't let any problems occur on Earth during the time when Li Qingyun is away. Don't worry, Brother Monkey, we have launched a detailed global investigation. We will find all the aliens and alien creatures that may be hiding on Earth. We will also find and monitor those so-called demons and believers of the God of Death who may cause instability. Jezailan and others reported that these super soldiers have grown greatly under the guidance of Li Qingyun in these days. Now they have considerable independent action capabilities and can even perform tasks separately. 5 Red Star computers and 5 corresponding super soldiers not only have more powerful abilities, but also have higher status. It seems that even the other people in the Black Great Wall have understood that the 5 of them are the real core of the Earth in the future. Very good. Sun Wukong was also very satisfied with the growth of Jezailan, Du Qiangwei and others. At the same time, on an unknown planet in the distant universe, 2 winged angels, a man and a woman, were sitting under the shade of a tree. They were Hui, the king of the heavenly palace, and the angel Ruining who defected from the mellow heavenly palace. What did you say? Sumali is dead. Ruoning stood up in shock, and Hui was also stunned when he heard her words. Sumali was the strongest person in the Xiangong civilization in the Old Angel era, second only to Hui Yi. Even the 3 angel kings at that time only exiled them when they defeated them. How come the news of Sumali's death suddenly came now? God of Chaos? Where did this guy come from? Ruoning was talking to the death god Karl at this moment. Just like in the original book, the death god Karl wanted to find someone as a test subject, and the test subject was Hui Yi, the Xiangong king who had not spoken at this moment. Although he was already a backward god, he was the main god of the Xiangong civilization after all. Ruoning's appearance directly helped him upgrade his divine body to the 3rd generation. Even in the universe, only the main god-level strongmen of each main god civilization in the universe could suppress him. For example, the Holy Hizai, the Demon King Morgana, and Pan Zhen of Xiandao Liang. The student of the space principle forced Lian Bing to retreat. Ruining frowned. If it was just the student of the space principle, it would not be a big deal, but forcing Lian Bing to retreat made Ruining pay attention. She heard a lot of information provided to her by the death god Karl, as well as the signal given to them by the death god Karl, about wanting to cultivate Tuoye to become the king of the heavenly palace again. However, after Ruining hung up the communication, her expression was still worried. The universe today is no longer what we think it is. Even if the Holy Kesha has fallen, it is difficult for us to have a foothold in this universe. Ruining looked at Tuoye and said, "Is that god of chaos really as powerful as Karl said?" Hui was a little unconvinced that there was actually someone in this universe who could be compared with a Holy Kesha. He was able to force Liang Bing and her demon army back by himself, and only one of his soldiers could kill Sumali. His strength is definitely not simple, Ruining reminded, and when Hui heard this, he clenched his right fist and smashed it hard against a big tree behind him. In just a moment, the big tree was shattered into powder. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.